Hi guys, welcome back to the Kit and Krista podcast, episode 48.
This is the one.
For what?
We're recording this during yet another huge storm.
The epic storm watch continues.
We're like the post office. Rain,
Shine.
snow, nighttime. You're getting this
You're
podcast.
getting a podcast. I drove through treacherous conditions to get here, but you are getting a podcast. Today, though, we're doing a very fun list of the 10 most influential people in gaming right now.
I'm excited about this list.
Emphasis on right now. There was some confusion when we were having a discussion about this with each other.
Maybe that's another list we'll do another day. But today we're talking about right now.
Yeah, active in the industry.
January, whatever today is, 2023.
Right.
Who is the most important and influential people?
Mm-hmm.
We've got a great top 10.
They got to be active.
Yeah.
Got to be alive.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You're getting weird now.
That's some caveats. They have to be alive. As always, everything that we do on this channel is made possible by our wonderful Patreon subscribers. Thank you so much for supporting us. We have a really fun Patreon goal right now.
It's up now.
Yeah, it's really exciting to see the numbers just like tick, tick, tick up towards the goal. But we talked about this a little bit last week, but we have the goal to help us get back to Japan this year.
Yes.
We're both really excited to hopefully go back to Japan. It's been many, 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 many years since we've been there. And we have a ton of stuff that we want to show you guys, and we want to make content around being in Japan. So help us get there.
You were telling me you're always excited about, like, fill in the little temperature gauge.
I love the temperature gauge.
For like, are we going to hit our goal or are we not? And that's exactly what this is on Patreon. You can see, like, it's, X% there.
I look at it like 50,000 times a day. Like, I refresh it so much. It sometimes doesn't change at all for like the whole day. So I don't know why I'm looking at it so much, but I have a deep obsession with the Patreon goal.
Yes. But yeah, going back to Japan, going to be incredible if we can do it. Thank you all of our existing Patreon subscribers. If you're not yet subscribed, give it a look.
Yeah, we're at patreon.com/Kit and Krista. You can get in for as low as $2 a month, and every dollar goes towards this goal of getting us back to Japan this year.
Yeah.
So, yes, please join us. This is no time like right now to do so.
All right off the top, we got some big news.
Oh boy, big
about
news.
Sonic Week.
It's happening. There's a date.
People are eagerly anticipating this. It will be happening the week of January 23rd, all week long, a full week of Sonic stuff.
Yes.
Maybe next week we can take people through what they can expect.
Exactly.
We're still working on that, but
it's going to be really fun.
There is one thing that is confirmed, locked, booked, which I am so excited about. Our special guest, my personal Sonic coach / consultant, who's going to be joining us.
Your Sonic therapist.
Yes, on that episode of the podcast that week is Katie from the Sonic the Hedgehog Twitter account. You may have seen her on streams, official Sonic Screams.
Yeah.
She is wonderful.
She's the nicest person, and I cannot think of a better...
perfect person to do this.
The better, more loving, gentle person to gently, lovingly guide you towards your... through your rehabilitation.
Right.
I think she's perfect for it.
I really want to have kind of a counterpoint with her of like, here's how my life went, and I took this path,
and she took
and you took a different. And I just wanted like at one point we were probably on the same path, and then there was a fork in the road. We had a razor's edge moment.
Yeah.
And I want to know all about that.
Exactly. And
for her and for me.
I'm so curious to see, her perspective around all this. And
right.
Yeah, she's always been just so nice to us. She, has always really been open about, even though you've said many times that you've not been a Sonic fan, she's never like held that against you or anything like that.
No,
so
not that I know.
Maybe this is
not that I know of.
January 23rd, she's gonna like punch you in the face or something. Who knows? I'm not gonna stand in her way. That's what I'm saying. But hi. But yes, we're excited to have her.
We are also getting suggestions from our Patreon subscribers in our Discord. There's some suggestion that I should wear a Sonic onesie.
I was going to say, can we buy you some
I'm very
Sonic
open to that.
items
So I think that's a big order of business for you and I this week.
To get your Sonic wardrobe.
We're going to get it all set.
Because
the Sonic Week is close.
Yes, we need to get our Sonic wardrobe set. We need to get just our details of what
about
games
you,
we're
though?
playing.
This isn't just
How am I
about me.
involved?
Huh?
I'm a bystander.
You seem, you're strangely absent from these conversations. And you seem to have also
This is about you.
a bit of a, but you're here. I mean, do you want to just take the week off?
No.
And I'll go this solo? Like, what is this?
I just want to see it all go down. Like, I'm like a bystander.
You just want to point and laugh.
I want to point and laugh while Katie punches
You're a
you in the face.
rubbernecker is what you are.
I am. I'm very nosy. So for me, I'm also not like the biggest Sonic fan, but I don't have your like intense sort of feelings about Sonic that you've had
All right.
growing up.
Well, then this is like
So-
3 parts for me, 1 part for you. Babe.
Yeah, for me,
Yeah.
it's just like I want to learn more, and there's definitely Sonic games that are not on my radar that people say are very good that I would really like to give it some time. I mean,
Yeah.
I've worked at Nintendo for so long that I've definitely prioritized Nintendo games and Mario over Sonic. A
lot of big Sonic
all the
fans at
years.
Nintendo, though.
That's true.
Yeah.
Lots of big Sonic fans at Nintendo, but just not as much exposure to Sonic games,
Right.
I would say. So
Right,
I would
right,
like to
right.
learn more about games that, you guys think that I would like, that maybe I missed. So that's
Okay.
that's my goal, my personal growth goal
Yeah.
for Sonic Week, for me. But it's more about you. You have like psychological things
Traumas.
to work through.
Traumas, yeah.
Like deep psychological wounds.
We're gonna go
to
through it, and
heal-
we're gonna
to
go through it.
heal. The healing
I will
process belongs.
reveal the exact moments where I turned heel, as they say.
Exactly. And we're
Yeah.
going to have the healing begins on
Great.
January 23rd.
I can't wait. Some other programming reminders. Up now on the channel, we have a great Super Kit and Krista 64 where we went back to our
my
Animal
gosh.
Crossing New Horizons islands.
It was so, like, magical, I guess, is maybe the word I can say to describe
Yeah.
that experience. It's one of those things where we spent so much
did.
time during a very hard time, a time of, like, a lot of stress. On our Animal Crossing islands, we made countless Nintendo Minute videos on those islands. It was when we had, really like dire feelings of like maybe we can never have another Nintendo Minute episode again. And we found a way to do it in Animal Crossing. So those islands meant a lot more to us, and I think than usual. And of course, we haven't been back for about since the DLC, right? We were saying since the DLC. We kind of don't know.
We need to nail down because we said it's 1 year, it's 2 years. It's
I think it's like
somewhere
one-ish
between 1 to 2 years.
Yeah, but it's been
Yeah.
a significant amount of time.
Right.
And obviously, like, tons of stuff has changed along the way. And going back was, like, one part, like, nostalgia and just, like, remembering all the nice times that we had on Animal Crossing. But, like, the other part, like, oh, let's, like, restart some stuff here, too, which is really nice.
You said that after we did this video, you've kind of gone back and picked
Started
the game
playing.
up a little bit.
Started playing it again.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, now I have like a bit of the urge to go back. Well, the main thing I wanted to do was redo the studio in Animal
Yes.
Crossing. So we made this studio. So now
Right.
the Nintendo Minute studio has
Controversially, you took like a bulldozer
I did.
to the old studio.
I did. It felt kind of good, honestly. Like, we just need to...
To the concerned people out there, I also have that in my
I
house.
mean, you can still remake
and I won't be
it.
getting rid of that.
The wallpaper
one
exists.
of us needs to have it.
Yeah, for posterity?
Posterity.
Posterity, whatever. But yes, we remade. I remade this studio
Yeah.
in my Animal Crossing
Right,
house.
right.
Now that is something that exists, which is kind of
Looks
fun.
great.
It
Yeah.
looks very cute. I think it kind of.
I mean, they don't have a weird rabbit plush in Animal Crossing, but I mean, we did our best.
We did our best. Definitely a little bit harder since we don't have like the iconic wallpaper that we did
Right,
for
right.
Nintendo Minute. Maybe that's a to-do for us is to get some wallpaper for this room.
Oh,
But yeah, I think it turned out really cute, and yeah, it was really fun to like put this new beginning into Animal Crossing. Yeah.
yeah. And coming up in a couple days, we are doing something that
Oh.
this may be unprecedented. So we're doing a bingo battle. We love doing bingo competitions. First of all, we needed to reset the challenge board.
We do. Yes.
Everybody said
Fresh start. I need a break.
right. Kit dominated 2022, which I did. So we're starting fresh. This is our first challenge of the year. We've done bingo competitions before, but this is the crazy twist. It's always been with one game.
Right.
This time we are competing there's one bingo board, but we're
Yeah.
playing different
Different
games,
games.
which I don't think has ever been done before.
No, I think it's going to be really interesting.
In Reggie's words, NBDB.
Purple cow.
Never
idea.
been done before.
Bingo, battle.
Don't wake me up until you have that hot NBDB. Oh, guess what? I got it.
Wake him up.
Yeah, I'm gonna call it.
Call him.
Reggie, I did it.
Set an alarm.
Bingo,
5
that's your
a.m..
bingo's your big idea?
5
Back to sleep.
5 a.m.
Bingo?
phone call to Reginator about bingo battle.
He's gonna say, well, have fun at the early bird dinner at 3:30.
He's gonna hang up.
Yo,
on you.
weirdo.
He's gonna
Click.
hang up so fast. Don't call him. He's gonna hang up. But yes, this is gonna be very exciting. We're gonna be competing across 2 different games. My
Yes.
favorite Mario game of all time.
Classic 2D Mario games.
Yes. Super Mario World for me.
Sup-
Representing.
And Super Mario Brothers 3 for me.
you, representing.
That's the great thing. It's like these games are different, but they're close enough. We can make a single bingo board.
That's right. Yeah, you can do the challenges across the two games separately and see. And the
Yes.
board was randomly generated, so it's fair.
Right.
Obviously, we're gonna play some levels
Mm-hmm.
and see how we do.
This is the 4D chess that people sometimes joke about. We have achieved
We've
it
achieved
with
it.
multi-game bingo.
Woo! This is the multiverse like you've never
Yes.
seen before in the
so
bingo
excited.
form. It's gonna be really fun, and I think if I can win this one, it just will let me come out of the gate strong.
Right.
2023 challenge
Now-
board, you know?
You're not out of the gate strong because you had a faux pas today. We were going to record that video later today after we do this podcast.
you're gonna tell
You
everybody?
you forgot the Elgato.
I did, I'm
At your
sorry.
house. I don't know
Elgato.
what you were doing with it. I don't know why you needed it, but it ain't here.
But the
You took
streaming,
it. You took it.
I needed to test.
What
it.
were you streaming?
Nothing.
Nothing.
I was testing.
Whole lot
it.
of nothing. That's what. And it ain't here.
More streaming is coming.
So I don't know.
2023.
Hopefully this video exists. Hopefully this video comes out.
Oh my gosh, we have to do it now.
But another day we'll be
Some way, shape, or form. We
will
will
be out
record,
very soon though.
Yes, a
as you
bingo
hear this
video. Yes.
now. So a lot of great stuff on the way. A lot of great
Oh my
stuff
gosh,
out
how
now.
exciting!
You know what else is great? This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Thank you.
BetterHelp.
Yeah. You always want to feel like you are having your best self, living your best life. For me, I know that means, feeling like I know what's ahead of me, understanding the obstacles that I face and how
Yeah.
to overcome those. But sometimes it can be challenging to understand how to get to that place.
That's true. And that's where a BetterHelp therapist can really be a guidepost, someone you can kind of bounce some of your thoughts and feelings off of. That's a neutral party.
Right.
That I really appreciate. And especially in the new year, as you think about what kind of goals you want to achieve for yourself in 2023, it's great to have someone to talk about those things with
Yeah.
and have someone give you some advice and help you see the bigger picture, and it's a great way to reset your mind for the new year.
Even if it's not a specific problem or challenge you're dealing with, just
Yeah.
overall how to deal with problems and challenges when they arise is a very valuable skill to have, and BetterHelp can help you with all of that.
Yeah, really easy. You can fill out a brief questionnaire and you're matched with a licensed therapist. And you can talk to your therapist in all sorts of different ways, whether it's via video chat, phone call, even text. So lots of different ways for you to have that conversation in whichever way you feel comfortable. And we've both been using it
Yep.
and really like it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, if you want to live a more empowered life, therapy can get you there. Visit betterhelp.com/Kit and Krista today and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Kit and Krista.
And we'll put the link here and also in the description below. Check it out.
All right.
All right, on to our big topic here, which is the 10 most important people right now,
Right.
this very moment in video games.
I like this because it's something that is endlessly debatable.
True.
Like, I'm sure as we go through this list, people are going to be shaking their fists of like, I cannot believe
You left so-and-so.
You had so-and-so
Yeah.
on this list at all, or you had this person in the top
Yeah, or
5.
like, I hate this person.
Yeah, or you completely overlooked this
Yeah.
other person.
Exactly. So
There's-
you tell us.
Yeah, there's no like science to this.
Right.
It's just kind of our feeling. And
Yeah.
we did do a lot of research on this.
I really I found myself learning so much more about these people, and
Right.
there was like surprises. I'm like, how come there's no information about this person at all? Like, how is that possible?
Yeah.
So very much a well-researched topic, I would say. So we did
Yeah.
put some work into this.
Yeah. So what was your criteria for like, does this person belong on the list or not?
For me, it's about like, you know, how active they are in the industry right now. Are they doing new things that are sort of pushing the gaming industry forward? And I think the other element is like, what sort of like new MBDB
Right.
ideas do they have in their particular role that is like reshaping what that role means? So, for example, we have some people on here that are like creative directors. What are they doing as a creative director that may be unique and different than a traditional creative director in gaming
Right.
have been doing?
Right,
That's
right.
that for me. That was what I was looking at. What about you?
Yeah, I think it's just, who is having the biggest impact on the industry, who is helping to shape, the games that are making an impact right now today. We have people who are game designers and developers. We have
Yeah.
some people who are in more of like a businessy role. Our number 10 on the list is actually somebody who doesn't make games at all,
all,
but has
yeah.
a huge impact on how we view them and get
Consume,
get
get
excited about them.
information
So
about
maybe
them.
we should just say who our number 10 is right
Yeah.
now. It's Jeff Keighley.
Yes, yes.
The one non developer / publisher on the list.
Yeah.
And friend of the show, we should say.
Friend of the show, friend to
Previous guest.
friend to us. That did not have any bearing on him being on the list,
Right.
But yeah, he's an interesting ad, and I actually thought to myself a lot about whether or not we should have Jeff on the list. Because he is one that is very different than everybody else that we have
Right.
on this list. But I think the argument that you made was really great for Jeff, which is like he has a very unique role in the video game industry where he's really like bringing people together. He's making, moments of the year possible where the entire, video game industry, the entire community is getting excited about games. Obviously, he's very legitimate because huge publishers are trusting him to
Yeah.
release their key announcements during the shows that he produces. So there is a level of like professionalism
Right.
and legitimacy that he has
Yeah.
made for himself.
And he plays a huge role in being a launching pad for games of whether they will go on to be successes or not.
Right,
Those world
right.
premieres are a big deal.
Yeah. We
And-
joke around about them, but they really are like, for a publisher, a really big deal.
Right.
And it means a lot for their
Highly
game.
coveted. There's a lot of competition for those, and just like how huge the Game Awards, like the audience has become. Like,
Yeah.
it's like this year's show grew like 20% again.
It just,
somehow-
it seems to have no limit in like the viewership
Right.
and the just like the reach of
Right.
that show.
Right.
It's really incredible.
So the Game Awards is hugely established and important, but also Summer Game Fest is in this really interesting position where
Yeah.
like we don't know like if E3 is going to be back next year, but we don't know like maybe this will be the last one.
Yeah, what does that look like?
And there is a chance that Summer Game Fest becomes the new E3,
Right,
kind of
right.
the summer moment where the industry comes together, and that could really solidify his place on this list even more.
Exactly.
If he has these two like bookends of the year,
Yeah.
where everything happens.
Exactly. And I think, again, he has such a just great relationships and trust and professionalism.
He
where-
knows everybody.
Exactly.
He's involved in everything.
Yeah. So like that happening with Summer Game Fest and Game Awards continuing to grow is something that is like, very, very possible.
Yeah.
So Jeff Keighley, number 10 on our list
Yeah.
of most influential people in the industry right now.
Okay, number 9
Yes.
is Hidetaka Miyazaki,
Yes.
who is the president of From Software.
Yes, of course. Very famous this year for Elden Ring.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting. When I was reading about him, he was actually promoted to president like very quickly,
Yeah.
only 10 years at From Software, and then promoted to president of that company. And then, of course, has just a really interesting vision about games and the Soul series is a very unique entry point into that kind of game. So yeah, he's kind of like a business genius, I guess.
Yeah, and he just has, a very, I think, uncompromising vision for what
Oh, yeah.
his games are going to be. And, you know, I'm sure there were a lot of people who were afraid of the original Demon Souls of like, hey, this game's too hard, or this is
Yeah.
not what people are into now. And now you see so many games, like big games, are kind of aping the style.
Exactly.
You know, like Assassin's Creed, these latest Star Wars games. Just there's so many where they're like trying to be their take on this.
Right.
So hugely influential from that regard. And now that they've had this huge hit with Elden Ring, like I do start to think ahead of like, well, what? Like they could make more of those games, but I'm sure they've got big companies like knocking on their door too of like, hey, could you make a huge game for this IP that we have?
Right.
It'll be really interesting to see
Like where they go next.
if they continue on these
Yeah.
series or more original IP, or if they, you know, take up one of these offers that has to be there.
Yeah, he definitely has a very unique creative vision, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's talked about that a lot in interviews around the launch of Elden Ring, just like how he sees dying in games, you know, what that means to him. It's not like something to be feared, but something to be celebrated almost. And
Mm-hmm.
so I find his like vision around like what makes a game fun pretty interesting and different than some of the other developers that's in the industry right now.
Yeah, and after this last Game Awards, we talked about Armored Core and how that's such an interesting test of, you know, can they take this, you know, super niche kind of dormant franchise and turn that into a hit? I think we both agreed there was a good chance that they could.
Yeah.
So
Could be possible.
he has just become an absolute hit maker.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think
That's all there is to it.
I think people are, for sure knocking on his door.
Right.
Like, can you make this into a hit?
Yeah.
But yes, very cool. Number 8.
Number 8, someone we know and love.
Yes, of course.
Shigeru Miyamoto. Whoa.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The one and only.
Obviously,
Miyamoto-san.
if this was the other take on the list, you know, kind of the
All-time.
he would be
Much higher up.
probably at the top or
Yeah.
very close to the top. But still very high on this list, and actually the only Nintendo person that we have on the
here.
list,
Yeah.
period, which is interesting.
It is interesting, yeah. I mean, Mr. Miyamoto, obviously, we know him really well. We've had the luck, and we're very grateful to have worked with him personally for a long time. But he's one of those people, again, with just like it feels like an unending well of creative ideas, and even later in our years of working with Mr. Miyamoto, seeing him go from being sort of the producer or manager of the development team to doing more of like the theme parks and the movie and just like stretching his creative wings into other areas of entertainment has really been like eye-opening for me, because it's like, wow, like there's no end to him. Like he can dabble in any of these entertainment things and be successful and amazing at it,
Yeah, I mean, we should say he's not just on the list as sort of like a legacy thing. Like he is overseeing this transformation of Nintendo into the full entertainment company that they have not been before. So he's overseeing the theme parks, he's overseeing the movies, really super critical ventures for the company that seem to be going great.
Exactly.
So far, he's got the magic touch yet again. And yeah, he's not really, I mean, he's got his fingers in a lot of things. He's not like super involved in any one particular game.
Exactly.
And Nintendo will always be a place that's more about the collective than an individual, except for him.
Except for him.
He is the exception to that rule, where his voice carries so much weight on everything that the company does.
Yeah, and of course, I think when I was watching him sort of make that the transition between games to entertainment, it just seemed like something he was really personally passionate about as well. And I think he believes this to be the future of the company.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting to see like sort of everybody at Nintendo really take his vision of like the future of the company into consideration when considering like business decisions of the company moving forward. So really cool to see Mr. Miyamoto continuing to push the company into these fun new directions. And I think we're all excited to like actually get to experience some of that Miyamoto magic, whether it's watching the movie finally when
Right,
it comes out,
right.
or going to the theme park finally when it opens here in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that is why he is
Yep.
number 8.
Number 7 is one of the people that you said you had a hard time getting information
Yes,
on.
why are you so mysterious, Donald Mustard?
Donald Mustard,
Mr. Mustard, please.
who is the chief creative officer at Epic Games.
You are very famous. Why is there nothing about you on the internet?
And he, really rose to prominence with Fortnite and was
Yes.
kind of the driving force behind Fortnite and continues to be deeply involved in Fortnite.
Mm-hmm.
And there's easy to think of a scenario where Fortnite kind of came and went in like a year. It was like a fad.
Flash in a pan, as
But
they say.
it seems to be bigger than ever.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it is due to his vision and them continuing to keep it fresh
Right.
and now doing all these IP
I think the
partnerships.
IP partnerships are a big thing.
But they're also like just changing up like what the game is all the time.
Right.
And I don't know how they can do all this on such a quick pace. That's something I'm always amazed at.
It's really
There's always seemed like
incredible.
there's something new happening.
Yeah, they're so like on trend. And that must be so hard to do. Well, it was hard at Nintendo, at least.
Yeah.
From a video game perspective, because there's a you need to allow time
It takes time to make
to
this
develop
stuff.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But maybe the sort of the foundation of Fortnite is done in a way where it's easy for them to do that. And if that's so, then that's amazing, because I think it keeps the game feeling like super current all the time, which is why people
Right.
continue to play it. But yeah, weirdly, not very much information about his past. And there was also some like interesting things that I found. It was like, oh, he was like a voice actor in some of these like other
Oh.
Marvel, like he had cameos in these like Marvel movies, which may have helped him like get some of
What?
these IP deals. I don't know.
Oh,
if
really?
That's true.
Oh, I didn't know
not
that.
true,
Wow.
But
You're reading the rumor mill here. Okay.
I know. I was deep in like celebritybirthdays.com trying to get information about Donald Mustard. But
Oh, dear.
Donald Mustard, if you're out there, I would like to know more
Well.
about you. You're very mysterious.
Our next person is somebody who, frankly, a lot of our viewers and listeners may not know.
Yes.
She's kind of new to her role, but the role is super important.
Yeah.
It's Joanna Ferris, who is the general manager of Call of Duty
Right.
at Activision. And she's
has
been
an
there
interesting
for like a
past.
little bit over a year, but that's another one where like Call of Duty's been at it for like 20 years now, of like the biggest of the big franchises.
Right.
And every year it seems like there's a lot of detractors who are like, this is it. This is the last year. It's on its way out. It's down. It's on its way down.
And then it doesn't.
And it continues, like Fortnite just continues to
There's like a breath of
stay
life in it.
extremely strong.
Yeah.
So, kind of her role is like overseeing the whole franchise of, the annual releases, Warzone, all the esports stuff that they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's working.
It's working. She's really interesting too. Her background is not even gaming. She was
Right.
She was in the NFL
Yeah.
for like a long time.
She's definitely one of the more like business management types.
Yeah.
But you need somebody in that role with a franchise this big that has so many different parts to just like make sure
See it.
it all fits.
Exactly,
Make
have the
sure
oversight.
there's a schedule to it. It's a hugely complicated job.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking like, gosh, Call of
do you
Duty
even
is
do
so
that?
big. Like Call of Duty is the thing that made Microsoft want to do this crazy acquisition.
Right.
So we had to have somebody, representing Call of Duty on this list, just with how big that franchise is.
Exactly. And I don't think it's going to be, it's not going to diminish anytime soon. If anything,
Seems not
it's
to.
probably
Yeah.
going to get bigger.
Yeah.
If this acquisition goes through, like who knows? But
Right.
yeah, it's definitely in like sort of a very interesting place right now, and I think she'll be sort of at the center of all of that.
Yeah, yeah,
Which
yeah.
will be interesting. Yeah.
All right, so that is our.
Number 6.
We're on
Now
to our final 5 here.
Yeah, number 5.
We have at number 5 Herman Hulst, who is the head of PlayStation Studios.
Oh yeah, this was an enlightening moment for me because I didn't realize that PlayStation Studios had this many
Yeah.
huge franchises under them. I was like reading the list, like whoa. So they have Ratchet and Clank, or I'm sorry, they have Insomniac Games, Ratchet and Clank, obviously Spider-Man, Gorilla, Sucker Punch, Naughty Dog, Santa Monica Studios and Media Molecule,
Yeah.
which is they're like think of the games that come out of these studios. It's like they're all blockbuster games.
Right.
It's incredible.
Under him, like all these first party games definitely have sort of like a house style to them where you know it's very cinematic, huge kind of story driven epics. You know, they've really had a bold move to step away from multiplayer. These are mostly
Single player
games.
Yeah.
So like you think about like what are the most prestigious games that are in the industry, like it's hard to argue like Sony's are pretty much there.
Yeah, and how many of these games have won huge awards over the years, like, and have like huge, you know, even like media offshoots, like Last of Us HBO show.
Yeah, he's involved in that as
and
well.
all of those. So it's like bigger than you probably think, which is kind of amazing to like, realize.
And I have to think he's also managing like the most costly portfolio of games as well.
Oh yeah! Oh my god!
Like, this is like a high stress job where any one of these could like make or break your business, sort of.
Yeah, and there's probably a lot of pressure
Yes.
from his boss, right?
Right.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so you know, there's other people from Sony who are involved, but just as far as him having a role in all of these games and being hands-on with the games instead of just the business overall, you know, there's been kind of like a revolving door of the people who have been at the head of Sony.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say like, you know, how impactful that role is in any given moment, but this one you can clearly see the impact in the product.
Yeah, and also like the results of the work, you know.
Yeah,
So yeah, and he hasn't been in this role that long. It's only been since November of 2019.
Right.
So
Right.
it's relatively new to it. But yes, pretty
All
crazy.
right. Number 4 is from a company that we actually don't talk that much about.
Even though one of our
on this podcast,
best friends,
we have a great friend who works there.
We probably should have him on the show one of these days. But it's Gabe Newell.
We should have Gabe Newell on the show?
Yes,
Is that your
please.
idea? Oh.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
Gabe Newell of Valve. Yeah, why don't we talk about Valve more on the show? I don't know.
I think it's because we're not PC gamers, and so we don't do a lot of Steam.
Right.
Although I'm obviously like we watch, you know, tons of people that play Steam games,
Yeah.
and we know people that work at Valve. So yes, I don't know why we don't talk about
Valve
more.
Valve
but we
is such
should.
an interesting company where it's like this video game think tank almost, where
Yeah.
you kind of don't hear a lot about what's going on, and they're not like pumping out new things, but when they do,
It's like
industry shaking stuff.
yeah, exactly. It's
Like the Steam Deck was that
Right.
you know, last year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I did not realize that Gabe is one of the wealthiest people in the United States.
Well, that's not how you get on the list. You can't buy your way onto the Kit and Crystal list.
He didn't buy his way on.
Unless you're
but-
making, this is why I gotta be here. Checks and balances. You're taking this dirty money from Gabe.
Hey, Gabe, slip me a little here. I want to go to Japan this year. Get on
Is he
that-
giving away a Steam Deck every minute on this show? I don't think
He
so.
should be on the Patreon goals.
What?
Give me the $3.9 billion, Gabe.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, you know, you really don't think about like people in the video game industry being like exorbitantly wealthy, because it's really not that type of industry. It's not like, you know, tech or something like
Yeah.
that where it's ridiculous. But apparently, he is one of the wealthiest people in the U.S. There you go.
Yeah, but again, it's just like you just think of the impact that Valve can have with one of its releases.
Yeah.
Which is so high, and you know that's kind of been there for the last 20 or so years. Once they started Steam, it's like, hey, we're just going to make this new platform, and we're going to support that. And now we have this other platform with Steam Deck and all the other big games like Dota. In between, they've been pushing
Yeah.
VR as well. So they always feel
Like
at
on the
at the
cusp.
forefront of
Yeah.
something new or something people haven't yet thought of.
And then they're always like attention getting in that way.
Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, like we're going to march to the beat of our own drum and do our own thing, and you're going to pay attention. Mm-hmm. And usually it ends up being like very good as well. So yeah, very little failures on the Steam, on the Valve list here.
Yeah. All right. Number 3 is another person we have both met and worked with.
Yes.
Is Tsunekazu Ishihara, who is the CEO of the Pokemon Company.
Yeah, and he's been at the Pokemon Company for a very
Forever.
long time. Forever.
Literally forever. Before
Yeah.
Pokemon existed, he was there.
Exactly. So he is like responsible for, and had a hand in Pokemon becoming the phenomenon that
Yeah,
it is
and he's
today.
responsible now for everything Pokemon.
Exactly. Exactly.
Which
And
is, you could argue, like, is it the biggest IP in games? Like, it's one of the biggest entertainment IPs, period.
I think period. Yeah, because they have grown way beyond traditional video games into so many different aspects. I would say that they're actually ahead of Nintendo in that respect, where like as Nintendo is just starting to dip into other entertainment things with Mr. Miyamoto at the helm, like Pokemon's been doing this forever. They've had the anime and the card games.
And grown so much over the past 10 years, like with some pretty bold strategies.
Yeah.
Like, they could have just been like, all right, we're just gonna really
phone it in,
or we're just gonna attach ourselves at the hip to Nintendo and we're just gonna do whatever they do. It's like, no, they struck out. They had Pokemon Go, they had all this other mobile stuff. They did the movie before Nintendo did.
Yeah, they continued with the anime and been really big on like streaming services.
So
Their like merch line is like incredible.
Been so confident, so unafraid in striking out in all these new ways, and it just feels like Pokemon's never been bigger, which is crazy to say.
It's so true,
considering like where it started and all of the huge spikes that Pokemon have had over the years.
Yeah.
But it just seems ginormous.
It does, and I just can't wait to see them do like even more because they are very like bold and unafraid to try things, and I'm excited to see like what else is on the horizon for Pokemon, because it doesn't seem like they're scared of anything.
All right, number 2. Okay. This may be one of our most controversial selections because it's somebody that I think the majority of our listeners and viewers have never heard of.
I did not hear about this. I didn't know who this person was until I was doing research for this episode. Which, but yeah, hugely important.
It is Michelle Liu, who is the CEO of Tencent Games.
Yes.
Not of Tencent overall, but specifically of Tencent's gaming business. And Tencent is like secretly got its tentacles in
pretty much
so
everything.
Much of. Let's just read off this list of companies where they either own it outright or have like a pretty big stake.
Yeah.
So Epic Games, Remedy, Activision Blizzard, Ubisoft, Krafton, I don't know what that is. Supercell, Frontier Developments. What else here? Turtle Rock. Where's more? From Software. Wow. It just goes on and on. Where it's like, what? They're involved in that, or they own that, or Riot Games. Like I think they just straight up own that.
Yeah, but it's crazy because it's like their stakes range from like 4 to 84%. In these companies, so they, to your point, they really have like varying degrees of control over more than you think in the gaming industry.
So nobody's like, oh, who's my favorite gaming company? It's Tencent. But they're probably involved in a lot of the games that you are playing and loving, and therefore have a huge hand in a lot of games that come out and the future direction of these companies.
And the thing that is really interesting about Michelle, and she has publicly said a lot of this, recently is like their laser focus on Western markets and like how, I mean, they're obviously in China and in Asia, like already huge, and everyone's playing Tencent games especially on mobile. But I think moving into Western markets, and again, this explains why there's so much interest in acquisition of all these Western studios. I just think it's more and more, it's going to start to like bleed into what we see here and become more prominent as we go on.
Yeah, and you wonder as they, acquire more, or are they going to become more involved in, the directions of these companies, or are they already super involved and we just don't know it? Either way, they own it.
That's right.
So that's why they're very high on this list, and why Michelle Liu is number 2 on this list.
That's my mother's maiden last name. So maybe she and I are related, and I'm actually a rich Tencent
maybe
princess.
She can give you a Billy. You can get a Billy from Gabe
and Michelle.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Oh.
Maybe she's auntie. Maybe she's my auntie.
Wow.
Who knows? Who knows? You don't know.
All right, maybe I can get a red envelope or something.
Oh, it's Chinese New Year's coming
up. I know.
Start to get my
Here we go.
my little
Gong Shi Fa Cai
in a row here. My bunny's in a row. All right,
number one though, the most prestigious spot on the list and in the world right now.
In the world.
number one most important person in video games right now is Phil Spencer,
Oh, Phil.
CEO of Microsoft Games.
Oh, yes.
Wow.
I mean, he recently received his Lifetime Achievement Award.
Now hold on,
Obviously.
I'm going to cut you off. I'm going to put the spotlight on you. So,
Yes.
Xbox right now is not doing as well as Nintendo. It's not doing as well as Sony, and yet the head of Xbox is number one on the list. Why?
Why?
Explain yourself.
Me?
Yes.
Again, I think Xbox and Phil at the helm is meeting the criteria that we were talking about in the beginning of like pushing the company into new directions. They might have had like a lull here while they're doing that, but like they're doing stuff that's new and different in the industry. You know, whether it's like Game Pass, whether it's adaptive controllers, whether it's acquisitions. Like these are bold things that are. You don't have to do this. You can just like sit on your laurels and rest on the things that you know that work. But he's not doing that.
Yeah.
And I think that deserves a lot of credit.
He does have some Iwata-esque tendencies where he really wants to push, like, he wants to bring people into games.
Yeah,
he wants
for
to
sure.
make games
Accessible.
accessible for
Yeah.
everybody. So yeah, Game Pass you mentioned. Obviously the adaptive controller was a big thing. This, Microsoft acquisition is literally like shaking the industry and making Sony
it's very core,
Sony do
yeah.
all sorts of crazy
things.
crazy things. And
Shooketh.
he clearly has like the ear of the CEO of Microsoft overall. He
Right.
seems to have a blank check to do. I mean, even before Activision, like they were on that run of acquisitions.
Yeah, they have.
Where they were just buying studios left and right.
Right.
We've yet to see a lot of the returns on that yet. But again, they're there. They have those assets in their corner.
I mean, Minecraft is the one that we don't even mention, but it's like
that was under.
It was like Fortnite.
Yeah, that was
level.
under him as well.
Right.
So, there are parts of the industry that feel content to just go ahead with the status quo, and he seems really okay taking huge risks to
like push that vision.
push the
forward.
boundary
Yeah.
of games, push the audience for games, and make it welcoming and accessible
respect that a
for
lot.
everybody. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's something that's really hard to do. And then you do have these times where it may seem like you're in a lull, but I think you're just biding your time
Right.
for it to be big.
Yeah.
And I think it's cool that he's like willing to take that risk and have the patience to shake up the status quo.
Yeah, and something else I admire about him, and this is not how you end up to be number one on the list, but it matters, is like he really does connect with his audience
He really
well.
does, yeah.
Especially in comparison with the previous Microsoft regime, which just felt so out of touch with
Yeah.
the Xbox One and everything they were doing there. Like as soon as he stepped in, it was put the player first, put the customer first, and he clearly understands what they're thinking and what their motivations are, and is willing to connect with them on their level, which you have to admire and respect. That makes a big difference.
It does. Like he's a lot like Reggie in that way, I thought, where he's very open and honest.
Yeah.
He's just out there, one with the people.
Right.
And he genuinely, I think, cares and listens, and he's very truthful in what he says. And you got to respect that from somebody that is that high up at a company, to not like sort of take the easy executive parachute way out all the time.
Right.
And he's always like on the end of some scrutiny, and he never shies away from it. He always, receives that head on and is honest and transparent with his responses, and that
Exactly.
takes guts.
I mean, this Activision thing, like he's ultimately responsible for that, and it's like it could be this great boon for the company, or it could be a total failure that cost billions for Microsoft.
But he's like
and
he's taking it.
Yeah. So you're either the goat one way, in the good sense, or the bad goat.
Or the scapegoat.
Yeah, the scapegoat.
Oh, no.
And he seems completely fine, with either out, comfortable with like understanding that.
Way to go, Phil.
So yeah, someone we really admire and respect.
Absolutely.
Someone we would love to have on the show. So Microsoft, if you're listening, make it happen.
We know some people.
But
Can
yeah,
make an ask.
number one, congratulations, Phil.
Yay, Phil. We're rooting for you, Phil. We did also ask our community, our Patreon community, for their...
We got some really interesting
We did.
input from them. So we can run through a couple of those.
Yeah.
David Masmini said, he's not a developer, but my first thought was Jason Schreier.
Oh.
He has become the face of a cultural shift towards holding game companies accountable for the treatment of the people actually making games, as well as predatory monetization practices aimed at consumers. As much as I love video games, it's important to never lose sight of the fact that they're made by human beings who deserve to be treated with dignity. Journalists like Jason are helping more people see that.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we both know and admire Jason.
Yeah.
And yeah, he is going to the hard issues.
Yeah, he kind of almost like Phil in a way. He doesn't shy away from really
Right.
tough conversations and being the person that has to like research and report on this kind of stuff that maybe not as much fun.
Right.
But it's important for those stories to be heard and to be addressed. And
Yeah.
I think he does a great job of that.
Ben Robinson said, for me, it's solo indie developers. They inspire me and show that anyone can do anything they set their mind on. Mainly Eric Barone, or better known as Concerned Ape, who created everything for Stardew Valley. That game is truly a one-hit wonder. Its replayability is unparalleled, and no game has captivated me in the same way. I still go back to it regularly, unlike any other game I played, even after all these years. I still find it hard to believe it was made by one guy. It's inspirational.
That's so true. Great. That's a great, just sort of indie developers who just take on all aspects of bringing their game to life. Like, that's something to be admired for sure.
Yeah, we have another great indie
I was gonna say,
suggestion
yeah.
a bit later on here, but
Yeah.
Mark Brazil agreed with us. I'd pick Phil Spencer, he says, the head of Xbox. Phil is an
Nice.
executive that truly is a gamer, and you can always see that he's playing games by seeing his Xbox profile. Many gaming executives don't seem to always be big gamers themselves, so it's refreshing to see someone representing gamers who understands the community.
Yeah. Obviously, I think everybody really notices that about Phil, so that's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Yeah. And this is the other one that I was thinking.
From Josh Rieg. It's hard to say who's the most important developer in terms of worldwide impact, but for me it has to be Toby Fox.
Love Toby
I
Fox.
always wanted to develop games, but Undertale was the game that inspired me to start learning. Playing it for the first time, I was so impressed by how moved I was by a game that seemed possible for anyone to make. Now I have released multiple small games, with one even being on Switch.
Oh, that's awesome.
Toby Fox proved to me that it's possible to make incredible games as a mostly solo dev. I still have a long way to go until I make something on his level, if I ever do, but his games are my biggest inspiration.
Yeah, that's amazing. And Toby Fox is like another man of mystery that does like so many things that you don't even realize. Like he like did all that stuff for the Pokemon Company.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's making games like solo. He's doing
Yeah.
all the writing, the music, like all that stuff. He's truly like a Renaissance man,
Yeah. I agree with the sentiment of like the indie revolution is,
Yeah.
it is hugely important. I struggled as we were making this list of like, is there one person who
hard.
is the face of it or kind of
Yeah.
represents it? I think Toby maybe comes the closest.
Right. But I think the reason why there isn't one is because it is like sort of this philosophy of
Yeah.
like if you have an idea and you have like the guts to do it, like it's possible.
Right.
And I think that's great.
Yeah.
So whether you're inspired by Toby Fox or any other indie dev, like I think that's really cool that
Yeah.
that's something that is possible now for people.
And then finally, Robot Jack 11 has a great zag. We love a good zag here.
Yeah, this is a good one.
He says, while something of an indirect influence Hayao Miyazaki and the many, quote, developers of Studio Ghibli. For decades, Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli has impacted the imaginations of lives of numerous people, allowing them to craft and experiment entirely separate worlds and storytelling that directly feed into the video games we know and love today. Undoubtedly, many of the best games released and currently in production are due to the seeds planted via Studio Ghibli films and the rich characters, environments, and stories they actively express.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
I love this. And I think as video games and general entertainment grows ever closer together, as we were talking about with
Yeah.
Nintendo and with Pokemon, like that line starts to blur more and more.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think there's so many times where we've played a come or there's been a game that's come out, it's like, oh, it has like Studio Ghibli vibes.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, like that's such an indirect influence, whether you realize it or not.
That's such a good zag. Like, the most important person in games
Not
doesn't
even
even
games.
like games.
Actually,
Oh, I wish I'd thought of that. It's good.
this is why our community is much
Yeah.
smarter than we are.
So, What did you think of the list?
Mm-hmm.
We want to know. Either way, please leave a comment if you have someone else who we
Yeah.
forgot, or if you think the order is out of whack, or really anything at all.
Yeah.
Please let us know.
We want to know what
This is
you're...
endlessly debatable, so let's
Debate
let's
us.
have the debate.
Yes, debate us.
Let's not know. Debate me
Debate me.
is the worst thing you can say to another
I
person.
dare you. Just kidding.
Are you man enough to debate me?
Are you though?
It's the new gladiatorial combat of
Looking into the
2023.
camera, pointing my finger at you to debate me. All right, that was extremely fun. I honestly learned so much
Yeah.
about everybody except for Donald Mustard.
You learned almost nothing about it.
Don Mustard, I know nothing about you.
Man
Please,
of mystery.
I need to know more about you. But it was very, very fun to go through this list, and it makes me like really excited about the future of video games, and I'm just so happy that we're able to be part of this great industry and like talk about it and be amongst all of these great people.
Donald Mustard on our top 10 list of most important people in games. Mustard on my short list of most important condiments.
Yeah.
Okay?
The spicier, the
Did
better.
I just blow your mind there? The mustard connection.
Thank God it wasn't Donald Mayonnaise.
Oh,
that
he
would've
would
been-
be he would
he's
be
not on the list.
disqualified. Not allowed.
Not on the list.
Yeah.
All right. We got to move on here. We have a fun
We have a little story time.
Nintendo story time inspired by
The terrible weather we're having right
bomb
now.
cyclones galore.
Yeah.
Hashtag bomb cyclones.
Bomb cyclones. What's the Arctic rivers? We've had atmospheric rivers. We've had a couple of
Don't steal that.
those.
That's my band name.
I don't know what it is, but it's just been storming nonstop here.
And we're lucky to live on the West Coast.
And it's storming everywhere. We should say it's not
Yeah.
it's not just us.
Not so great
Yeah,
for
we're
the
ju-
folks on the East
We're
Coast.
just not used to it.
Yeah, but we have a fun story to
But
talk about you.
I was involved in a weather emergency at Nintendo.
That was a big one.
Settle in and let's tell the story here. So this happened in February 2010, so quite a while ago,
Yes.
and I had worked at Nintendo for about a year at that point. And we were going on a press tour of the East Coast, which means we take some game or games and we go visit all of the big media who are on the East Coast
Yeah.
because it's hard for them to see games. This was pre-Zoom. You couldn't just do a Zoom
Can't
demo.
do a demo, yeah, and it's very important at Nintendo for people to get like actual hands-on.
Right.
That was like one big like thing for us. And yeah, and then a lot of like the big, more like mainstreamy type of newspapers, like the New York Times
Yeah.
and the Washington Post, they're not in California, so
Right.
you have to do this special trip. And
had to go.
we've all led these
Yeah.
media tours in the past. They've all been filled with many, many good and bad memories. But this one, unfortunately for you, had like a big.
Yeah. So,
big thing.
so we were showing a number of games, and I really racked my brain, and I realized the big thing we were showing was Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver,
Oh,
which came out the
yes.
following month. And there were a couple other games that we brought along with us as well that were coming out in that time frame, but that was the focus, Pokemon. So the structure of those East Coast tours was very similar most of the time. It was you would fly in on a Sunday, you would do meetings in New York, Monday through kind of noon on Thursday, and then at that point you would catch the train
Yes.
and go down to Washington, D.C.
That's right.
and do your Friday in Washington, D.C. because there's not that many, there's a couple big ones, but there's not that many total
Right.
in Washington.
Yeah.
And then you would fly back.
Right.
So we were following that format for this tour. So spent the first couple of days in New York. It was going great. Things seemed, right on track, right on schedule. People were loving the game, so seemed to be going perfectly. We got to Thursday, and I hadn't really been thinking too much about. I've been so focused on the New York part of the trips, like I haven't
Right.
really had put my mind on Washington. So, but you have a couple hour train ride to kind of get your wits about you and sit down and do whatever. So I came across this big story of like, oh, there's actually this massive blizzard headed towards Washington, D.C. And the weather in New York was totally fine. It was
Right.
it was a bit chilly, but there was no storm at all. So I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. And so I went to college in Washington, D.C.
Right.
I went to Georgetown, and the one thing I know about Washington, D.C. is they're incapable of dealing with snow. Believe it or not,
Yikes.
our nation's capital, where it does
Shut it down,
where it
people.
does snow at least once a year.
Yeah.
I was the beneficiary of many snow days because
They just shut down.
If
right?
there's
The city
any,
shuts
if they're
down.
just like, oh, you just can't, just don't do it.
Yeah.
It's like I can't walk the 100 feet from my dorm to class.
Oh well.
Okay, I guess the professors couldn't get in or whatever. But the city just shuts down. So I was like, oh, well, that could be a tricky wicket if it, if we get a little bit of snow, that might be tough.
Yeah.
And I just had that in the back of my mind. I was like, is this going to be a problem? Like, are our meetings going to go through? I don't know. And I kind of mentioned it to the people in our group, and they're just like, oh, whatever.
And a lot of them are from the West Coast, so they don't really
Yeah.
know what it's like in Washington. I think if
Yeah.
there was a big
Right,
storm.
but these people were all like experienced travelers.
Oh, yeah.
So they're just like, whatever. It's like snow. We're on the East Coast. That's what happens.
Yeah.
It's winter. We're in the East Coast. That's what happens. So we get to Washington D.C. Our train arrives, and it seemed fine. Obviously, the storm was not there yet.
Right.
Once we arrived at the hotel, the concern set in because I was having a conversation with the bellhop who was bringing in all of our bags. And he said, so how long are you here for? And I said, oh, we're only staying through Saturday. And he said, well, when you check in, you might as well go ahead and extend your stay because you're not getting out of here anytime soon. I was like,
Oh, no.
that's ominous. Oh, no. So as I'm checking in, I'm talking to the person at the front desk. Like, what do you think of this storm? What do you think is going to go on? They're like, oh, this is going to be a big one. And if you want to extend your stay now, you can. So just let us know. So now the group is officially concerned.
Yeah. Now we got some panic.
Because it's
setting
like I don't want to be stuck in Washington D.C. for I don't know how long.
goodness knows how
'Cause,
long.
again,
yeah,
the
exactly.
city will shut down. So I tell everybody, it's like, all right, let's all go to our rooms. Let's get settled. I will check in on our travel options.
Yeah.
And let you all know.
Right.
So I go to my room. We had a great travel team
Right,
at Nintendo.
right.
Who
You
that's all
call
they
them.
that's all they did was deal
Yeah.
with all the corporate travel.
They're great.
Yeah.
They can get you out of anything.
So I call them and I explain the situation, and they look around and they say, oh, there's actually a flight out of Washington D.C. to get everybody back and enough seats on this flight for everybody in our group. We had 4 people in our group. I wouldn't want to leave somebody behind.
That'd be mean.
I wouldn't want to be the one left behind either.
That'd be mean.
That would be bad too.
That'd be bad. Don't do that.
And you would have to leave first thing tomorrow though. So I'm like, okay, well that would involve canceling the whole last day of our trip.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if this storm is so bad,
Who's gonna get in?
we're not going to be doing any meetings anyway.
Right.
Because either we can't get to them or they can't get
can't
to
get
their
to
office.
you.
It's just not
Yeah.
going to happen.
Yeah.
So I'm doing this math in my head of like, we gotta cut bait on this trip.
Right.
Because this trip's over.
Yeah. And you already did a full thing in New York, so
Right.
it's okay. Like
And
it's
this
not
is-
like a total loss.
Exactly. So I tell them, I was like, hold those seats on that flight for us.
Yeah.
I'm going to call my boss and just let them know.
Right.
And that was not something that I had to do. It just felt like a good step.
Like
for,
FYI.
yeah,
It was more so treated as for your information.
it was more of an
we're leaving.
FYI. I could have just gone ahead and
done it.
and booked the seats and just said, hey, this is happening.
Yeah.
But it was more of an FYI before I call the person back and said. So I call him and I say, hey, this is the situation. Maybe you've heard about it. There's this crazy storm coming. Look at the forecast yourself. It's going to be like feet and feet of snow.
Yeah, we might be trapped
These
here for
meetings
weeks
aren't going to
and weeks.
happen, and we might be stuck here into like sometime next week. Because the forecast was like, this blizzard is going to continue for days.
Yeah, and then you had to dig the city out
Right.
from the blizzard,
Right.
which was a big thing.
So it would have
Yeah.
been like, I don't know, Tuesday, Wednesday, the following week before we get out of there. And he says, okay, well, that's your call to make, but if you decide to cancel the rest of the trip and come back, I'm going to want to know what you're going to do to make up those meetings. And I kind of didn't respond because I was kind of shocked that was the response. Not
Yeah,
like,
this isn't great.
not like, yeah, get out of there, or
your safety.
oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I hope you're okay.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It was, what are you going to do to make up these meetings?
Yeah. It almost felt like you better be leaving for.
There better be a good reason.
It's like the world
Yeah.
must be coming to an end
Right.
if you're going to cut
Right.
these meetings
Why wouldn't you
short.
risk your life to do this?
Exactly. Fall in front of a blizzard. Get buried in a blizzard for Nintendo.
Yeah. So I've just like, yeah, we'll figure something out.
Yeah. Again, no Zoom. Back in
Yeah.
2010,
Right.
it's kind of hard to figure it out.
I was like, yeah, we'll figure something out, sure.
Yeah, but also
but
goodbye.
we're getting out of here. That was such a weird response, and like obviously, if like Reggie had heard like, oh, the press tour is in jeopardy, he would not have been like, make sure they do it no matter what.
Yeah.
He would have been like, get out of
This
there.
is just this one person's
Be safe.
weird,
Very, very,
reaction
very
to it.
strange response. So
Yeah.
call back the travel desk. They booked those tickets.
Yeah. Let's get out of Dodge.
And then we had dinner, our group, in the hotel that night.
That restaurant is
Really,
so good.
really
the
great.
Blue Duck restaurant.
Yeah,
in
really
that
great
hotel is
restaurant
excellent.
in that hotel.
Yeah.
And that was like a bacchanalian.
Yeah.
Or what
Toast
is
to
yeah, it was
getting
like
out.
we're out of here. We're gonna be fine, thank goodness.
Yeah.
One person overindulged in bone marrow.
I know exactly
remember
who that
which
person is. I know exactly who
I don't
that
know,
person is.
that can't feel good.
That person came with me the next year on that same tour and did not order that bone marrow
Can't
again.
say I've done that myself.
It was a little much.
Bone marrow stomachache sounds bad. So we toasted ourselves to the job done as well as we could for those first 4 days.
Exactly. Did a great job.
And then the next day we, the butt crack at dawn, we hightailed it to the airport and we made it.
You made
and we
it.
got out.
You called me from the airport.
I did.
I remember. And I was on the phone with you and you were telling me about this blizzard coming in and my desk, I used to sit, this was before we moved around the office around, I used to sit right in front of our boss, the one that you had called and asked you how you're making up this meeting. My desk was a cube right in front of his office, so he could definitely hear me on the phone. And I think he knew I was talking to you because he came over to my desk and was like, what did he say? I'm like, oh gosh, this is very awkward. I don't know. I think he's leaving because a blizzard is coming, dude.
Yeah, I think we had a connection because I was going to San Francisco and the rest of the group was going back to Seattle. So I had a moment to call you and fill you in on this crazy story.
I know, it was crazy, but I felt really bad because it seemed like our boss was still very much fixated on the what are you going to do to make up these meetings?
The meetings were never made up, by the way.
By the way.
I didn't
Sorry, DC people in 2010.
So once I got back, though, that Saturday morning, there was a Georgetown basketball game in Washington, D.C. that was on TV, which I was going to watch anyway. And they played the game, but all the people working the game were like, "Whoa! I can't believe they went forward with this game." They were showing shots outside. It was like cars were like completely buried under snow, and they were like, "This is living up to the billing of the storm of the century, people! I can't believe they played this game. There's no fans here. I can't believe we made it." I was like, "Wow, this was the real deal." I would have been stranded here.
You would have been stranded
for
ever.
Multiple days deep into the next week.
Yeah.
So
if at the earliest, you probably would have been able to get up by the end of the following week, which would have been crazy.
Yeah, that would have sucked, though.
That would have been bad. That hotel's nice, but that would have been bad. That would have been bad to be trapped there for that long. That would have been 3 weeks on the East Coast.
Talk about
that's tough.
Talk about a close call.
I know.
Just
not the greatest response.
Getting
from the
out
boss,
of there on
honestly.
the skin of the teeth.
Yeah, but good decision making and quick.
Yeah, that was like I was
you.
like, we got to think fast and we got to make a decision. Fast.
Exactly, and that was the right call to make for sure. Like I guess if anyone else, maybe you would have been a little bit like shy to pull the trigger if your boss gave you that response. But good thing you got those poor people out, even the bone marrow person.
Weather emergency.
Yeah.
Gotta get out.
We're in it right now. We're in it. We're in the weather emergency.
It stopped raining as far as I can see.
Rain has stopped. Yes.
So that's a fun story.
Yeah.
Hope everybody's holding up this winter.
Exactly. Hopefully you're
We
nice
do have
and
some
safe.
people in the southern hemisphere where it's not winter at all.
Right.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, you're nice and toasty.
Yeah.
But we do have a lot of people that are dealing with ice and snow, and so we hope that you guys are staying safe out there and you guys are okay. But yeah, I have a cousin that lives in Buffalo, New York, who could not even go home for Christmas because she had
that was
been
bad.
snowed in. So, and snow was up to like, the height of her. So crazy. Crazy.
Okay, on to some games we're playing.
Yeah.
We have both been playing a new game, which is High on Life.
Yes. So we both started High on Life. So I've been really curious about this game because I've heard people talking about it. I'm not like the hugest, Rick and Morty fan or anything like that. I've actually met Justin Roiland before.
So is that the person who we met in Comic-Con a couple times? Okay.
Yes.
I remember, he came to see some games at Comic-Con.
Yeah, he's super nice.
he had not overindulged in bone marrow, but he may have overindulged in something else before
Well, if
he
you
came to
play
see us.
High on Life, you'll see.
I'll just leave it at that.
Or if you watch Rick and Morty, you'll probably know that already.
So,
But
so,
yes.
so let's. So I don't watch those shows. I've never watched those shows, but you.
I watch like a couple
you're
episodes
familiar.
here and there. I'm not following.
So how did that impact your perception of this game?
I know that he has a very specific sense of humor.
Right.
And Rick and Morty certainly has a very like polarizing audience. I think it's a very much like whether you get it and you love it and you're like into that kind of humor, or you think it's like totally crass and awful. I definitely don't follow super closely. I think he's really, he's super funny. He's he's a great writer. Like the show's written really, really like Rick and Morty's written really well, and some of the episodes are genuinely like hilarious and imaginative. And so that's what I was kind of curious about going in, was how that would translate into a game.
Yeah.
And it definitely has that feeling. Like it has a very sort of like expansive universe, which is very Rick and Morty. It's absolutely M-rated crass. Like if you're a child, please don't play this game or watch that show.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Don't do it. It's absolutely like in that same vein of humor. Like it's just like ridiculous and gross, but hilarious. Obviously, if you guys watch Rick and Morty, you'll recognize some of the voice acting.
Is it some of the same people?
Yeah, so the gun that you use is Morty. Well, it's
The-
Justin.
the blue
he
gun.
does all the voices.
Oh, that's him?
Yes.
Oh,
he does
interesting.
Rick and Morty's voice, which is ridiculous. I don't know how he does it. It's like,
All right.
must be hard on the throat.
Huh.
And then the very beginning of the game, when you're playing sort of that pixel Doom,
Yeah.
like and the little like your divorce lawyer comes on. That's Rick's voice,
Oh, okay. Which is also him.
which is also him.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyhow, so yeah, the game like actually is really surprisingly great. We were talking about how like it's funny and it's like this big joke on video games. It's like a huge like spoof of like Halo and Metroid and like first person shooter games and those kinds of games. But the gameplay is like really solid and really fun.
Yeah. I mean, I had some hesitations to try this game out because I didn't know any of those shows, and I was like, is this going to be like inside jokes that are going to go over my head? And fortunately, it wasn't. And the humor is funny, but I wouldn't keep playing it if it wasn't a good game.
Yeah.
And this is actually like a really solid
It's a really
game.
good game. Yeah.
And like we were talking about how like there is a scenario where they could have just made this game minus the humor and just made it like a straightforward kind of sci-fi shooter.
Right.
Which would have worked and been fine, but the humor is, I mean, there's not a lot of comedy games out there, so it's kind of got a really fresh angle to it.
Yeah, and I know, just from meeting Justin like a few times, like, and also you see this in Rick and Morty too. There's so many references to video games. He obviously is very impacted and is very much, into video games.
Yeah.
And that part is very clear with this game because you can see like all of the things are like video game tropes or funny things that, all games have in common. Like even like little things like, how a boss, like how you start a boss fight or something like that. Like that's all like inspired from, other video games that he must have played that we all play, So I think it's really fun that he was able to take, that and like kind of spoof it into this comedic game. And like I was really surprised. Like the environments are really diverse and the gameplay is super fun.
Yeah.
There's like some puzzle elements to it. There's some platforming to it. It's obviously it's a first person shooter, so you have that, the shooting melee aspect, and it all feels like super solid.
Yeah.
And really fun.
It does give me a Halo feel to it.
Totally Halo feel, yeah. A little
where
Halo, a little Metroid sometimes.
Specifically Halo Infinite, where the encounters, a lot of the enemies seem to be based on those archetypes of like there's the little grunt guys, there's the more like the elites. They even kind of sound like the elites when they like run at you, they charge at you.
Yeah.
And it's in these kind of big areas where you
Right.
have a lot of
Those
room to maneuver
platforms.
around.
Yeah.
You also have a grappling hook, which feels a lot like the Halo Infinite grappling hook.
Yeah. You eventually get a different weapon as well, which is cool.
Right, kind of.
Yeah.
You have like a kind of a shield mechanic that operates a lot like the Halo shields. So it does feel like
And you even get those canisters like
yeah,
you do in Halo.
like a comedy Halo, which feels
great.
weird
It's
to
fun.
say.
Yeah.
But the guns, they have a face on the back. They're like these creatures,
They're little reptiles. Yeah.
and they're talking to you like the whole time, like
They are.
nonstop.
Yeah, they are.
Which
really
I haven't found annoying, but I guess there's a setting where
turn
you
it
can
off.
dial it down
Yeah.
a little bit.
I like it. I think it's funny.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's even like the enemy dialogue, like this is in the beginning area, I was like dying. I was laughing so hard because it was like you're like fighting these enemies that were pretty easy, and they're like, "Hey guys, do you think that we're the enemies that are just really easy in the beginning of the game, and that's why we're dying so fast? Oh no, we're dying!"
Yeah.
And it was so funny because it's like, yeah, like that must be what goes through an enemy's head in the beginning of a
Right.
video game when you're like realizing that you're just like the fodder,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So just to have that be, I don't know, like called out. It's just like very clever and funny.
Yeah, yeah. We're both playing this on Game Pass.
Yeah.
And this game seems to be a big hit. And it's
Yeah.
one of those things where I don't know if this game would have been a big hit if it was just sold and not available through Game Pass.
Right.
But it seems like a lot of people are discovering it that way. So
Yeah.
good reminder of the value of Game Pass.
Love Game Pass. This
Yeah.
is why I'm never like sorry to have it because I'm like, oh, I can just like try out this game, and if it wasn't good, then like,
Yeah.
oh well.
Yeah. So I'll
Maybe
probably
not.
finish this game now.
I think so. I think we're both about halfway through.
we were feeling a little bit of a rut
I know.
the last week
We
or
had
so.
some bad luck. You did, especially
Well.
with games.
You had it. You had it eventually.
I had it.
On
eventually.
our next game, Sports Story. Uh-oh. Last week, you wagged your finger at me.
I
like,
did not.
oh no.
Go to the
Sports
tape.
Story's great. I love this
I
game.
said Golf Story is great, and I was going to
now-
keep giving Sports
so
Story.
what's the update on Sports
Update is
Story?
I fell off. It's a little too slow this time. What happened? Golf Story was one of my all-time favorite games because the
All time?
one of mine.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know you liked it that
I
much.
really like it.
Okay.
And it's like, because it was so unique, you know?
Yeah.
And it's because the pacing is better. That's
Yeah.
why. Like, Sports Story, there's some major issues with the pacing.
Yeah.
Like, I gave him a little bit of a pass in the beginning because, okay, fine. Maybe there's some tutorial stuff. Maybe there's some stuff where you definitely need to, like, collect some things to get yourself going. Maybe that's why. But it really dragged. And I couldn't, like, push through. So I was really disappointed, honestly.
Yeah.
Too bad.
There were some stories that this game had a troubled development, and that's the feel I get when I play this game, where it's like they maybe could have fixed some of these issues if they had another
bummed.
several months.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. This game was already delayed so many times. Maybe they felt like we just got to get this out and
It's
move on.
too bad. It really
But
is.
it's
They
too
shouldn't
bad,
have
yeah.
done it. They
Yeah.
shouldn't have done it. I think if they had fixed the pacing issues and like just even like dialed it down a little bit, I think there's too much
Yeah.
in this game. They maybe were a little bit too ambitious and like try to make it like a big open world kind of
Yeah,
thing, and
yeah.
it was just too much.
Yeah,
But
there's a lot to like, but also a lot not to like.
I know. I'm really disappointed though because had high hopes for this. But a game that I'm not disappointed in is Melatonin.
Have you finished this?
I'm very close to being
Okay.
done with this game.
So
Yeah.
tell me what this is. I'm not sure I understand what kind of game this is.
Yeah, it's a rhythm game. It's like the vibiest, coolest rhythm game you'll ever play. I have been in like a rhythm heaven state of mind ever since
Yeah.
our Guess the Song video.
Right.
And I just found myself like watching old rhythm heaven like little mini game videos and things like that and thinking about rhythm heaven. So this game could not have come out at a more perfect time because I was just really like itching to play a rhythm game like this, and it's exactly like modern rhythm heaven basically. So
Oh.
you are in the dream or the dream consciousness of someone that seems to be maybe about our age, because the things you dream about are very much like things that I think about. It's like your work and finances and exercise and food and dating, and so each of the little rhythm games have a theme like that.
Yeah.
And then it's like really great music, and
So the music is good?
music is so
Okay.
good.
Is there like an artist attributed to all the music, or is it just?
I think so. Yeah, I think
that's
it's one
neat.
artist.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you basically you play through each of the little like mini games in a world, and then you have like the remix mode, like you did in Rhythm Heaven, where it like kind of remixes all 3 games together, and if you beat that, you can move on to the next world. So the structure of it is very similar to Rhythm Heaven. So obviously, I think maybe we're inspired by it as well. And the game has a really cool look to it. It's just like has like
It seems very like pastel.
it's got this like purple
purpley pastel, yeah.
color palette. It has a very beautiful like kind of like a very crisp line art kind of aesthetic to it. It just has like, and the music is like such a vibe. So the whole thing has just this like perfect like modern aesthetic and sound and vibe to it that just kind of like it really works. So yeah, I love it. It's really good.
Wow.
Yeah. There's one where he thinks about like it's like social media. So he's like jumping from one app to the other. It's like YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram, and like you're trying to like refresh the apps to see your follower count. And I was like, this is too real. This is what I dream about. But it's really, really, really fun, and I like totally relate to it. So yeah, play it. It's good.
Last thing for me is I checked out the mobile version of Vampire Survivors just
cool.
because I've continued to play Vampire Survivors on and off for a couple months now, and I just wanted to see what the mobile version was about, and it's got some really interesting tweaks for the mobile platform because it's free. Whereas the base game on consoles or PC, I think it's like $3. So it's really cheap
for what it
Could have
is.
sold it for that much on mobile, but it's ad supported, and they're doing some interesting things with the ads. So once you die, you can actually watch an ad to be revived once.
Okay, that's very clever. That's very clever.
And once you finish your run, you can watch another ad to get some additional amount of
I
gold.
would totally watch an ad for that.
I'm like, this is this guy must be raking it in.
He's a genius.
Everybody's watching these ads.
You gotta watch the ads.
It's like a YouTube ad that you would get. It's like 30 seconds.
cares?
It's not a big investment.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the completion rate on that's got to be crazy high because
Right.
you're in the middle of a big run and you die like, no, I want to come back right now.
And you're gonna watch the ad. Doesn't matter what the ad is. Yeah. Oh, it's genius.
So I wonder.
Marketing genius.
I'm really curious at how they arrived at that direction.
What is the control scheme on a mobile?
It's just touch. I mean,
So you just hold your character and move them around?
yeah, you just kind of move
Okay,
around.
is it like as precise as...
It's not as precise,
Okay.
so that's a bit of a downside. But otherwise, I mean, it's a game that doesn't have any buttons, so you don't have, there's like no like virtual controller nonsense.
which you don't like
I
that.
don't like those.
Yeah.
Those I find those tricky to use. So
Right.
I'd say it's pretty playable on mobile, and
Okay.
it is in vertical format versus widescreen horizontal. So if you think that's a better way to play it, you can do it that way. It's worth trying if you like Vampire Survivors.
I'm gonna try it.
It's I mean, it's a great version of that game.
Yeah, because I really like that game, but maybe if I can just dabble without having to boot up my Xbox,
Yeah.
it's kind of nice. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like a lot of developers would say like, oh, well, this is a violation of my artistic integrity to let somebody have an ad and like, continue.
This guy's like, I don't care.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. And,
That's actually really clever.
And on my side, like, I don't mind it.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh,
It's quite a modern
that's
modern
neat.
take on it.
yeah. So it just seemed very different
Yeah.
and worth mentioning.
You know what's really interesting, now that we're talking about mobile games a little bit, like I used to have my Switch around me all the time, and that was like I only play my Switch on handheld mode, and I used to play Switch games while I watch TV, like sort of that like 2-screen experience. I find myself now really not doing that much anymore. Like I've just been playing mobile games instead, and
Reading a book.
No, I've been playing mobile games and like not reading books.
Ew.
Watching like trash TV, like 90 Day Fiance, and like playing.
What
Like,
if you were
Marvel
reading
Snap.
that, but what if you're watching that, but then you're reading like Shakespeare to balance it out?
Okay, that could be something.
Yeah. Oh, we're back.
Yeah, not as dumb as it looks. No, but I've been still playing Marvel Snap a whole bunch.
Yeah.
And that's like, but I like the idea of Vampire Slayers on mobile for that reason, because I think.
Oh, but you can't take your eyes off of that.
But I don't need to. I can just listen to The
Okay.
Office. I can listen to The Office and play Vampire
All right.
Survivors.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's like my favorite activity nowadays.
yeah.
Is like to have like comfort TV on, or what do they call it? Like ambient shows on
Okay.
in the background, and play like something easy
Sure.
and quick on my phone.
Yeah.
So So I'm gonna try this.
If they can get this game to run on Switch, that'll be such a perfect shadow drop for the next indie showcase.
Oh yeah. If they can.
I don't know. There's so much stuff on the screen
I
at
know.
once,
Can
especially once it
they do
really
it?
gets hairy. I kind of don't know
I
if
don't
the
know if
Switch
that's
can
gonna
run
be
it.
possible. The Switch is gonna chug, and then it's gonna not
But
be a good experience.
if you can, please expedite that.
Low res.
Yeah.
Lower the res.
With or without an ad, I don't care.
1K.
Yeah.
4K. What? 1080p.
We're not. It's not out yet, so we're not playing it. But maybe we should just give an update on our feelings on Fire Emblem Engage.
Oh.
Because we have had some
We've had some changes.
We've had some changes here.
Because we're bored.
Yeah. I think we're both in on this
Yeah,
game.
we're
now.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before we were both like, we don't like this.
Let's sit this one
Why
out.
do you look like Harley Quinn? We were kind of haters.
Yeah.
But now I'm like so bored, honestly, that I just have to. I need something to play, and I guess this is what I got to work with. So
I should say our Discord is like really excited for
into
this
it.
game, which is helping my excitement
Me too. Also has bondos. Like, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always love a good chance at a husbando or a waifu.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we need a bracket, so we need to do smash or pass. So we gotta get going on this.
Yeah.
But Discord is very excited about it. The community loves this game, so I'm willing to give it a try. I mean, it looks so beautiful too. Like all the stuff that we've seen,
really does,
it really
yeah.
looks amazing. And yeah, I'll just play it for like relationships and story and dialogue and tea times or whatever if they have it. Picnics, I don't know. Yeah, I haven't played a true Fire Emblem game since Three Houses. So I didn't play the Hyrule Warriors one or the.
Something I want to add on to that thought is I've seen a lot of people now that they're seeing what's in this game. There's like a
Yeah.
big overview trailer that's out.
Yeah, I need to watch that.
I've seen some people kind of saying bad things about Three Houses of like, oh, this is actually the cathedral was it ended up being a drag or this part of the game and over the years I don't like this as much. I will not stand for this. Is what I'm here to say.
At all. Yeah.
Do not speak ill of Three Houses.
I thought it was great. Yeah, I didn't have any issues with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited to see a departure from that too and see what they do with this one. Like that could be fun just to have a new thing. I still think my favorite of all time is Awakening though.
Yeah.
So, anyways.
Yeah. You're a Fire Emblem normie. You only came on when Awakening
such a
after
normie.
Awakening.
I'm a crommy,
Yeah.
actually.
You're a dirty normie for Fire Emblem.
I'm a crummy stan. My baby, my husband, my sweet, sweet baby.
Crombondo.
I'm a crumbondo. Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
So that's everything we're playing. That's a lot of stuff for kind of a slow start of the year.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Are you going to do this with me? The Rogers base?
Yes. Absolutely.
The running list of.
We'll put it in our Google Drive so we can look at
But
each
we
other's.
haven't played any games that have come out
guess
this
Fire Emblem
calendar
Engage
year. That might be the first
will
one.
be the first one.
Yeah.
So the categories are the game that we played, if we beat it.
Yeah. Well, we can do. I mean, we don't have to do it exactly the way he does, but he gives it a 5-star rating.
Okay, got a rating.
And then I think he says, like, is it top 10 worthy?
We
Yes
should
or
put some
no?
notes in. It's
yeah.
like a book club thing. Like
Sure.
where you put like a little my first impressions.
Here comes the organization.
Here comes
Oh,
me
gosh.
like
I think
policing you on how to do
I think
this.
I'm out on this.
No, do it with me. And then we can look back on it for
Yeah.
Game of the Year.
It'll be very
and it'll be very
valuable.
helpful because I'm like, what was Arceus
Forget.
again?
Yeah.
Like what?
When was that?
Why did
I
I
don't
like
know.
that? Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
need to think about it.
Right.
When was it exactly? Okay, perfect.
All
We're
right.
aligned.
It's time
newsy news.
for the news. It was CES last week, which, if you didn't know, CES is the worst show you could ever possibly go to. It's the first week after the holiday break. Poor people have to work over the break to get
That's
ready for this
rough.
show.
That's tough.
Once you're there, it stinks. It's cold. You're in Las Vegas.
I've never been before, so I wouldn't know.
It's awful.
Ew.
So don't feel like you're missing out on
Aw,
anything if
new
you haven't
tech?
been.
What
It's
is
like there
it?
hasn't been anything
Yeah,
big
I
at
haven't
CES
seen any sort of big announcements around
for
like new tech.
years.
Why is that show so?
I do
big?
remember the one big CES was the battle between Blu-ray and HD DVDs.
you're old.
This is a long time. This was
really
like
old.
15 years ago.
Jeez.
And it was like, oh, Blu-ray is finally going to be the winner. HD DVD is giving up. Because I had the Xbox 360 HD DVD drive.
Gosh, that's
because
right.
there were some movies that had exclusivity.
That's
this was so
right.
dumb.
It was
Movies.
pretty dumb.
We don't need this.
No, we
Movies
don't.
on exclusivity.
Now we have streaming, so we don't have that.
I had
at all
the original
anymore.
Transformers movie, the one with Megan Fox,
She's really hot.
on That's why I had to get it on HD DVD, and then I had
Deep
like
director's cut.
I had like two of those, and I had like everything else on Blu-ray. I was like, this stinks.
Yeah, that's right. Blu-ray.
Yes.
Yeah, that was an age. when
I'll
we
really,
used to also buy
I'll
movies.
really buy almost any like dumb add-on for a console. Like my PS.
You will?
I had
That's
like
your weakness?
I
That's
had,
your toxic trait?
I had the Bionic PS2 that had the hard drive, that had the network
Oh,
adapter. I
you
had the
had all
crazy keyboard
You
lap
had the crazy thing.
controller.
Yeah, you do like the gadgety things,
Yeah.
the add-ons. That's kind of weird. I'm like the opposite.
I'll buy those.
I'm like, I don't need anything. I
And then
don't need a
immediately
disc.
regret it or not use it.
I just need like the bare bones. Like, give me the streaming only
Yeah.
everything. Don't give me any like physical anything.
I
Like, I
know.
don't want it. If you could just download the game directly into my brain, I will take it.
Yeah. News though. Before we get to the CS stuff, Pocket Card Jockey.
Pocky Jockey.
There's big news about that coming to Apple Arcade January 20th, which is soon. But there's a catch. What?
I have a big announcement around this from personal.
You signed up?
No, I already have one.
Have what?
An Apple Arcade subscription.
You do?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't either. I found out recently that I did because I was checking and I was like, oh, because I have a bundle with my Apple TV.
Oh, interesting.
So I can play this game.
Oh, lucky you. I was going
I'm
to say.
so excited now.
So
Really excited.
the announcement was very specific about Apple Arcade and asked around it. Like, some people in our Discord very helpfully explained.
Yeah.
It's not, you can't just buy it.
No.
It's only if you have a subscription.
subscription.
Which really stinks.
I know for you.
I'm not going to sign up for Apple Arcade for this.
Okay.
But I would want to play this
Yeah,
game.
I think mine is bundled in with my Apple Fitness and my Apple TV.
Oh, you have that too?
I use my Apple
Oh,
Fitness a
you're
lot, though.
really a whale for old Tim Cook there.
I don't care. Take my money. Take
Wow.
It. Take it. I use Apple Fitness a lot. That's a tangent.
Okay.
But I was very glad to find out that I do indeed.
Do you have the Apple credit card?
I do have the Apple Money thing. I have a lot of friends that work at Apple. I'm a fan. It's okay.
Pocket Card Jockey, which you should definitely refer to as Pocky Jockey.
Pocky Jockey, affectionately
That's one of the.
nicknamed.
That was like the secret handshake for people in the office of like, this person had good taste,
taste
in
in
games.
games.
Like if you like
Pocky Jockey,
yeah,
then yes.
it's like you're in the club.
But also, like, if you were a Pocky Jockey, like, savant, high accolades to you.
Oh.
Like, if you can play that game really, really well,
Yeah.
like, you get those streaks.
Yeah.
I recently started watching more trailers on Pocket Card Jockey because I was like...
The new ones or the old ones?
The new ones. 'Cause
Oh,
I
there's
was
new
like-
trailers?
I was like, oh, I need to be reminded of what this game was
Yeah,
exactly. And, like... The premise of it, I still, like, I forgot about the premise, and then I was like, oh, yeah, like, he dies and goes to heaven.
Yeah.
And has to play a card game to win, like, the Triple Crown.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is the all-time best story setup for any game ever. So, way to go.
I was happy that a lot of the news stories said this was Game Freak's secret best game.
It is
because it
literally
is.
Game Freak's
Yeah.
secret best game. Yeah. Game Freak does the best when they don't have to follow a formula. That is
Yeah.
my takeaway from this. But I cannot be more excited that I do have an Apple Arcade subscription because I'm definitely going to replay Pocky Jockey. Add that to the mobile list.
I'm gonna dig out the 3DS when I'm not watching the Kit and Krista podcast on my 3DS. We were talking about that. I'm like, what? You know,
So cute.
all these people say like they first started watching us on their 3DS,
And I was like, how are we getting this show on the
and I had this
3DS?
idea of like, if there's a web browser, you could probably,
Yeah.
if the little system can handle it, you could probably do that.
But it did, though.
And I did that this weekend, and you can absolutely watch a 2-hour podcast on your 3DS.
So if
It
you-
actually wasn't bad. Like if you
Yeah.
wanted to just have it like in the corner on a little screen as you're like typing away
Cooking
or
or
doing something
whatever.
else,
Yeah.
it was kind of neat actually.
Yeah. Maybe if you're sitting at a mall and waiting for a street passes, you can watch our podcast.
Well, you don't have you need Wi-Fi. That's the thing.
Hotspot.
It took
Make
it,
your phone into a hotspot.
it did take a good 20 seconds for it to load,
not bad,
but once you
honestly.
hit play and it
2-hour
started going,
podcast
it was fine.
on a system that's like how many years old now?
Yeah. It was kind of neat.
Not bad, guys.
It was kind of neat.
Not shabby
Yeah.
at all. Maybe we should film the next one in 3D and then we can watch
Okay, there was an option to watch. It's like, is this a 3D video?
Yeah.
So that's built in.
We could do it.
You could do that. Well, we're making a
How would we do
3D
that?
video. We film it on the 3DS. That's how. You can film a 3D video on the 3DS, then you
have a
upload
3DS.
it. We're not filming this podcast on a 3DS.
Oh, that would be a great
We're not.
experiment.
I'm telling you now, we're not doing that.
We can film an episode of Super Kid and Chris's 64 in 3D
No, we
on a
can't.
3DS.
No, we can't.
Do you guys want to see that? We should do it. That'd be funny. Now you've really dug yourself into
Get me
a
out of
hole.
here. I don't like this
What
at all.
happened?
I don't like this.
All right, we
CES
need to-
though.
we
So
need to
there's
get
two
to
Sony
CES,
stories from
yes.
CES. Sony has claimed the PS5 shortage is over.
Oh, I do declare.
Big Jim Ryan, who is not on our top 10 list, keep trying Jim, said everyone who wants a PS5 should have a much easier time finding one at retailers globally starting from this point forward.
Okay, well, we've noticed that.
As we predicted. One of our predictions already true?
I guess you
Is
could-
it already?
We did say that.
It's becoming true.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to continue to have a great year, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think we're well on our way. But yeah, I think we noted that last week. We were talking about how it does seem like this
Yeah.
change is happening, you know?
Yeah, that's great news.
Yeah, good for them.
The bigger story here, though, was they announced a new accessibility controller
Yeah.
called Project Leonardo,
This is the coolest
which makes
thing.
me wonder if there's a Project Raphael, Donatello, and Michelangelo.
Mikey.
But Project Leonardo, so this is so interesting to compare to the Microsoft accessibility controller because it's completely different.
Yeah, yeah.
And I watched a few videos with some of the accessibility consultants that they used for this, and they were saying like you really can't compare the two because the approach is so different. Like
Yeah.
this is something completely different. So depending on,
Like what your needs are,
what
I guess.
the need of the player,
Right.
I don't know, what one might work better than the other.
Yeah, yeah.
It's kind of this like UFO looking thing that has like this ring of buttons that you can customize.
Yeah, we'll put a picture here if you're watching.
And then there's a joystick,
Video.
and it looks like you can mix and match like a regular controller with this or two of these.
Right.
But it
Seems
looks
a bit customizable in that way.
yeah, highly customizable. So that's a great. I don't think there was a launch date on this,
Right.
but it's got all the PS5 look to it. So
Right, right.
eventually will be for PS5.
Yeah.
Now Nintendo is really the lone one out of not having a good
I know.
solution for this,
For
which was the next.
accessibility.
That was the next place my mind went after I saw
Oh,
this.
absolutely. I think they've always been like the slowest on that journey towards making Nintendo systems and games accessible. And yeah, that was one thing that was always disappointing to us when we worked there. But yeah, cool to see that PlayStation is doing this, and I'm glad that more like big gaming companies are just making that a priority. So that's really awesome.
Yeah.
Yep. All right.
So that's the news.
That's the newsy news.
Yeah. On to questions from our Patreon community. We get every question we answer from our Patreon subscribers. We also do a weekly bonus Q&A
Oh yes.
with additional questions you will not hear anywhere else. Here is an example of a question we answered last week. From Zemnix, did level 5 truly die with the DS and 3DS era? For example, Yokai Watch and Professor Layton.
Yeah.
We
had a
we
very
dug-
fun answer.
we dug up a lot of memories about working with level 5 and really took a close look at where they are now, which is
Yeah.
very interesting. So if you're curious about that, you can check out
Yes.
the bonus
The
Q&A.
answer may surprise you.
Yeah,
Because we
yeah.
definitely were like, oh, that's right. This happened.
But on to our questions for today. First is from the wonderful Aaron Burgundy, who we have met in person.
Oh, yes. Very nice.
The question is, I think he once said we could... does Nintendo have any kind of easily accessible archives for employees who needed them for business purposes? For example, if someone really needed to play Faxanadu on the NES for business research, look at Nintendo Power Issue 13 for a project, or get a photo of the box art for Heiankyo Alien on Game Boy. Did Nintendo provide any easy way to do that? Or would you have better luck just going out into the public internet?
Oh my God. Notoriously terrible for archiving anything is Nintendo.
But the company had an archive.
Yeah, but it was very
It
disorganized.
was just not really accessible
No.
to most people.
I've been in it before,
Really?
and it was terribly organized.
I would
And
love to go in there.
I was really disappointed because it's like we talk about this sometimes when we were talking about like how we're really glad that they're finally doing that museum thing, because it's like all this stuff, all this historical stuff, literally just like sits in somebody's desk
Yeah.
until you need to find it for some reason. The archives at Nintendo of America used to be in the Redmond headquarters, and they moved
The old
it.
building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they moved it to Kirkland.
Oh.
We have definitely dug into those archives to find things before, like old, like game box art and stuff like that for photos for social, to no avail because badly organized.
I remember an example of, so it was the Game Boy's, I think, 30th anniversary.
Yeah.
And we needed to get a Game Boy. So we had somebody in Redmond. I said, can you just, work with whoever oversees the archives and get us a good condition Game Boy, not like somebody's beat up old, with a sticker on it. And that ended up being a real challenging assignment for them.
Exactly.
And they did eventually get one, but I don't think it was from the archive. I think it was just from some employee who had one at their desk.
It was somebody's desk.
That was in good condition. So I think the answer is yes, they have all this stuff, but you can't really get at it.
No, and it's terribly organized.
Which
and
is a shame.
Kept very well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember I did have to organize a portion of the archives because they were shutting that off.
You really spent a lot of time in this archive.
Yeah. Because I started at Nintendo when they moved sales and marketing to Redwood City, remember?
I'm aware of that.
So I was trying to archive some of the old sales and marketing stuff before we left, before they shut down that office.
Just throw it away. What were you archiving? Press releases?
There was some old consoles and stuff that we were archiving. And they were like, oh, we keep one of each of these covers for magazines. Right. I don't know what those went.
Yeah.
I logged it somewhere, so somebody has it now.
And somebody in the legal team for some reason had a full run of Nintendo Power that I always had my eye on.
Yeah.
I don't know why legal had it, but they did.
Yeah, but they had other magazines too, like EGM magazine. I think there was Game Informers.
Wow.
Yeah, there was and then there was a lot of random stuff that was in there. I saw one time in the archive. It was when Maroon 5 performed at a Nintendo E3 party.
Oh, no.
And there was a photograph of somebody with Maroon 5. I can't remember who it was. And it was a signed thing. It was in a picture frame with the disc for that whatever album it was.
Really?
Maroon, I think it was
it's like a platinum record?
It looked like a platinum record, but it was for this dumb E3 party.
Oh no.
And that was archived. It was nonsense, you guys.
That's funny.
Nonsense. Yeah, the archives are a joke.
Okay. Mad Dog 5981 asks, with the announcement that Sakurai is semi-retired and taking into account the sheer scope of Smash Ultimate being somewhat of accumulation of the games before it, what are your predictions for the future of Super Smash Bros. Franchise? I don't really see how they can top Ultimate, but I also can't see them not having a new Smash on their next console. I feel that they should just, for whatever consoles to come, just remake and re-release Ultimate. Because that is the Ultimate version. Very hard to improve on that.
Yeah.
And that gets over the tricky question of, does Sakurai want to continue to work on this? And what does that mean?
It's going to be the Mario Kart 8 of the next console.
Which is totally fine.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think in this case, with most games, it's oh, well, here's an idea of a thing you can do. Or it's I can't think of anything else. Of course, you can keep adding characters forever, but at some point, you just got to stop. But this game is, going to be infinitely playable forever. So just keep putting it out.
Just report it for that, but immediately. Do it right away.
Sure.
Just load it onto that new hardware.
Just put it out
and send it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. I don't think he wants to work on another Smash game. I think he's done.
Yeah.
With that.
All right. Kai X asks, with the sad end of the 3DS and Wii U eShops inching ever closer, what are some must-plays or hidden gems that people should check out before it's too late?
Pocky Jockey, number one.
While I was watching our podcast on the 3DS, I did take a look through my system and jotted down some things here.
Do tell.
So for 3DS, here's a couple to take note of. Attack of the Friday Monsters.
Oh, great game.
Which is kind of like a narrative, old-timey Japan, like the Japan 1950s or 60s.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Any and all Pushmo games.
Oh, Pushmo.
And there's also a Pushmo game on the Wii U.
That's true.
So just buy all of those. Stretchmo is also if you're searching for Pushmo, Also search for Stretchmo, 'cause that's another game. Crimson Shroud is a more
never played
obscure
that game.
game. That's kind of like a tabletop RPG that they translated into a video game.
Oh, okay.
That's very cool. Bomb Monkey.
Monkey!
Bomb Monkey is an all-time classic that was featured in the very first Nintendo Minute.
Yes.
That is a great kind of
Watch that video. Oh, you can't.
head-to-head like puzzle, like
I'm very good at
combat
that.
puzzle. You can play it on one system too.
Remember how good I was, though?
It's like you hold the system
it
like
this
this, so
way.
you can play it
Yeah.
that way. That game is awesome. Remember they made those like 3D remakes of old games. So 3D
yeah.
Classics Kirby's Adventure is very good, and also 3D Outrun is also a really. There's a lot of other ones that you can check out if you like those. Those are the two that I like the most. Pocket Card Jockey, yes, wrote that down. Picross 3D Round 2 that came up in a
Picross is
that's a digital only.
Yeah.
Incredible. So those are the 3DS ones I would call out. And then on Wii U was a really short list. It's just one game. Affordable Space Adventures.
Oh, that's
which
good.
is like it's like a Mario Maker level, like best use of the gamepad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Will never come to any other platforms.
It can't.
So
you have to get it for that.
you have to buy this game before
Yeah.
this goes. You don't have a choice. You have to buy
Go
it.
play it
Affordable
now.
Space Adventures.
Plug that Wii U in if it still works. Probably not.
And then, of course, for both of them, any virtual console stuff
Yeah,
you want.
gotta get
Because who knows if it's ever going to get released
It's
again.
not going to. You know
It's
that-
not?
I mean, it might be a long
It's
time
not?
before you see it again,
no.
guys.
Oh,
Just
no.
saying.
Oh, no.
Just saying.
So that's my list. Do you have any others?
No.
Of course you didn't look. Frulio has the next question. You threw that in the dumpster, too.
I did.
What are some rookie mistakes made at Nintendo that haunt you to this day?
A rookie mistakes?
My answer to this question is going to be a tease for a future Storytime segment.
yeah? What
I
is it?
made a truly bad mistake once.
Oh, you
Yes.
personally?
Yes, that
Oh.
you made. Very early at my time in Nintendo, I made a legitimately bad mistake that I was worried would get me fired, and could have potentially cost the company a lot of money. So that's my tease.
don't
That's my
remember
tease.
this.
Well, you'll remember what, but
Oh,
but that's my tease.
Because I want to know.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Rookie mistake. I've definitely made many mistakes.
But rookie mistake, like in
I
your
have one
first
too.
year.
I have one too. I will also save it for a story time.
Oh, okay.
It was definitely a mistake that was extremely embarrassing, and it was in front of a huge developer, Aonuma-san. I'll just say that, and it was horrible. So,
Was I there for that?
oh yeah,
I don't know if that was a rookie mistake though, but it's fine.
it was definitely something that I probably could have avoided though.
Oh.
It was pretty early in my days dealing with developers as well, so I just I still feel
Typos?
kind of bad. It's like a typo level.
Can always avoid typos. Wink. Wink, wink.
Better review this podcast really carefully for typos, because there are gonna be some.
Grouchy M has the next question. I was playing my Switch over the holidays and I received the annual news notification from Amelia N and was wondering what, if anything, you knew about the news articles that come out on Switch and Amelia N. Who is it? Is it really one person within Nintendo, or is, quote, she maybe the marketing team? Also, who decides what news articles to put on Switch? Thank you as always. Keep up the great work.
Amelia N.
So Amelia N is not a real person.
No.
I hate to break it to you.
No.
Kind of in the spirit of Swapnote
Nikki.
Nikki. It's kind of a fake
Persona.
yeah. Made, and there is a team. It's called the Switch News Team.
Right.
That manages the Switch News channel.
That's right. Yeah.
And they write all the articles and they push everything up there, and we got kind of a glimpse into how because we would upload Nintendo Minute
videos, yeah.
onto there, so we kind of got a glimpse of how that worked. It's a little archaic. Yeah. Not the easiest thing to do.
That was a very interesting system that they had. But yeah, it was a very strange way to upload things to Switch. But they operated like a little mini news team. You know, they would. They had like editorial. They had like art.
They had a lot of writers.
They had a lot of writers. Right?
Yeah.
They're part of the web team as well, so they kind of laddered up to the bigger like digital web team.
Yeah, and we would get reports of X many people clicked on, like a lot of people click on these articles.
A lot.
Like a lot.
Well, they're like right in your face.
It's right in your face, right?
Yeah.
Like when you turn it on, first thing, it's like,
like
here's
switch
the
news.
top 3 news stories.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And they have they do cute things like
Yeah.
top cat
top games with cats.
Yeah, exactly. Or they'll have something that is related to a big release.
Yeah,
You know, all
yeah.
the Fire Emblem stuff.
Right,
Is probably
right,
what you're
right.
seeing right now. But they do a great job.
Yeah.
Love the Switch News team.
Colin SM asks, and there's a visual here. Hi, Kit and Krista. What was going on at this era at Nintendo, and what do you have to say for yourselves?
Whoa.
If you are listening on audio, it is a tweet from October 24th, 2013. The written post says, my official stance on hashtag twerking. Click here to see me hashtag twerk. And it's a picture of Wario saying, you expected to see Reggie twerking, fooled you.
Yeah.
Wow.
I always loved
Legendary stuff right
legendary stuff. But I think this would always sort of happen around Wario game launches where the company would suddenly take...
This wasn't that.
Was it not that?
No. Well, we would do later on Wario takeovers.
I was going to say, like, somehow...
Maybe we did, actually. 2013.
Was it when Wario...
Yeah, sometimes
WarioWare?
when Wario games would come out, we would do a, quote, Wario takeover.
Yeah.
For like a day where Wario would do all the tweets.
nonsense.
And he
Yeah.
would tweet stuff like this. Actually, it'd be worth checking the date, but...
Yeah. But what I was gonna
just
say,
dumbfounded.
what I was gonna say is like whenever a Wario game came out, I think it was nice because sometimes the company would embrace the spirit
Loosen
of
up a little bit.
Wario and
Yeah.
loosen up a little bit and let us do some fun things on social.
Farting, twerking,
garlic,
more farting.
Yeah, a lot of a little bit more crass humor, just in the spirit of Wario, which I always found to be fun.
But this was the era, as Colin SM points out, where this kind of thing happened more often than not.
Yeah.
And again, it was just the early days, and people were feeling out what we could and couldn't do,
Right.
and maybe not as many people were paying attention.
Yeah, and definitely we can't do that. They probably can't do that anymore.
Do you remember that Nintendo Minute where I bit into the raw
Yes,
head of?
that was
so disgusting. I kind
That's so bad.
I kind of like started to gag when I did that.
It was all like
because it still had the like skin on it. The texture was gross. Don't do that, people.
I think that was so gross.
Do not bite into it. I lost a challenge. Believe it or not, I lost a challenge to you.
You did. This is gonna be my year, 2023.
I'm not eating garlic
You're
again.
gonna bite another garlic.
No.
You're not gonna bite garlic.
I'm not going
again.
to twerk either. Piano Man Freak asks, hey, Kit and Krista, question for you both. Why wasn't Nintendo allowing us to stream their games in the past compared to now? Anyways, Merry Christmas. Well, this question was asked before Christmas. Keep up the great work. So there was a time not long ago where Nintendo's position on, people making content around their games was quite severe.
Yeah.
And
Antiquated.
bad.
And
You could argue.
almost just nonsense. Too.
Yeah. And it was called, what was it? The Nintendo Creators Program was what it was
Yeah.
called. And it was really complicated. It was like, you can sign up to be a part of this.
Yeah, we'll whitelist your channel.
And Nintendo will take a cut of your revenue
It was
and
very
all
bad.
of this stuff.
Yeah. It's like you can't be profiting off Nintendo IP as an
Right.
independent creator. Like Nintendo has to.
Yeah, we
take
have to
your
be
money
involved in
somehow.
this.
Yeah.
And it just really,
It
as you
was
can
terrible.
imagine, went
Yeah.
terribly. And after several years and
They
a lot of coaxing from, this was very much a Japan-led initiative.
Right.
After a lot of coaxing from Nintendo America, Nintendo Europe, they kind of came around
Right.
and went with the guidelines that they have now. And they're actually written guidelines that you can find. Most people don't know this. It's kind of buried on, I think, the Japanese Nintendo page, but it's all in English. If you're curious
Yeah.
what it is,
They have a policy there.
you can find the policy and the guidelines.
interesting.
Thank goodness we have that today and not that mess.
Yeah.
Because that
yeah.
was a real...
Although this continues to be a baffling thing in Japan, apparently, because we've had recent things like that one E3 where they said that no one's allowed to co-stream.
Oh, yeah.
So clearly there's still some kinks there
some
that
things.
maybe need to be discussed. But yeah, whenever this kind of stuff comes up and it just feels so like anti, now culture, it's always a face palm moment for sure.
Yeah. Vig Michter, always appreciate the pronunciation guide.
Yeah.
Although I don't think I need it anymore. I think I got this one down.
I think I need it.
Oh, okay. Well, keep it coming, Vig Michter. How long did it take the two of you to get over being starstruck when meeting Shigeru Miyamoto, Eiji Aonuma, and the like? assuming you were starstruck, of course.
Never. But I think what you have to do is be professional. And usually when we would have our interactions with, Mr. Miyamoto, Mr. Aonuma, well, maybe this is not really the case, honestly. But I mean, we meet them, and we would have our professional moments where we need to like go over actual work things with them. Like, here's the plan of what we're going to be doing this week, and it's in a very professional setting. But we have had many dinners and very casual.
Yeah.
Times with them as well, and I didn't feel awkward. I felt like, obviously, you want to ask him all the things, but
Yeah.
It definitely didn't feel like, oh my gosh, I can't talk to this person.
Right.
So yeah,
I think I don't get starstruck very often. I think is something
Really?
about me.
not with me every day.
I think I definitely did with Mr. Miyamoto the first time, but I think I got over it relatively quickly because you said it right. It's like you have to be professional.
Yeah.
And you can't just be like the slack-jawed person, just like, whoa, or just like autograph this stack of junk that I brought with me. That's a bad.
I've never asked him to sign anything.
That's a bad
by
look
the way.
to do that.
Yeah.
So
Signed it on their own accord.
I think not everybody knows that though. Like there are people who do have that approach,
so
and
embarrassing.
and it's kind of embarrassing, and it doesn't go well.
Yeah, you frowned upon.
That'd be a good talk to have with new people,
Yeah,
like who you
don't
think
do
might
that.
go down that path
don't
of
do
like
that.
you gotta pull yourself together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give them a nice slap in the face
Yeah.
before you have that encounter.
Right. If you want something signed, they'll probably do it. Just have somebody else ask for you.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
you can do it like one time I asked if he would be so kind to sign something for your birthday, and
Right.
of course you had worked all year
Right.
on Breath of the Wild, so he was very much
Yeah.
happy to do it.
There's a time and place.
Yeah, but
to
it's
do
not
these
like I'm
things.
like shoving a whatever under
Right.
his nose,
Yeah.
like right away.
Right.
Yeah, but it after you kind of have that layer of like professionalism, you do get a chance to like really know them as
Yeah.
people. Like I probably know some really weird like food facts about Mr. Aonuma because we've had dinner so many times. And we've had like interactions outside of work, and so now it's I think starstruck meaning like I'll never stop like just being in awe of like the stuff that he does and just respecting like how great he is at what he does, but not in like a googly-eyed like kind of way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Our last question is definitely earning the last question status. It's from Pikmin Sneezekov. This one has another visual, so I'll explain it if you can't see. Hi, Kit and Krista, the developer of the Mario Party series, ND Cube, have put up data on their website regarding the drinking situation of their employees. And there's a chart here from the official ND Cube webpage, simply titled Alcohol Situation. We have 13% saying I don't, 65% saying moderately, and 22% a lot. And there's a little clip art of a beer mug right here. I would like to ask, did other parts of Nintendo, such as NOA, survey staff on such matters? And if yes, how did you feel about it and the results? Thanks.
Oh my gosh.
I can't say I was ever surveyed on the alcohol situation.
No, I've never been surveyed.
Why would they post this?
It's funny.
Why?
Well, 65% are doing okay.
Why post this? I don't
I
understand.
don't know. I think it's pretty good. It's very transparent.
Situation.
The situation is dire for the 22%.
22%.
Oh no. We did do a yearly employee survey at Nintendo.
That was every other year.
Oh, was it?
You don't want to do that too often.
That was like drama central.
Yeah.
Like if anyone scored below a certain thing, oh boy.
That's like what I think most companies do this of just like, how are things going?
Yeah,
It's
like
like some
pulse
very, very
survey.
broad
Yeah.
questions. Yeah.
Yeah, but it wasn't on the alcohol situation. It was
No.
more like, are you satisfied with
Workplace
this job? Yeah.
things and.
But they took the results pretty seriously though.
Yeah.
Like they would be like very upset if the percentage for something went down year
Yeah.
over year. Like there was 1 year where the results were very bad. I remember, and that was like a big deal. Like people, the leadership team was like pretty like, uh-oh, what's happening? Because the results were so bad that year. Remember?
I'm gonna go work for ND Cube. Seems like a good time.
You score in the 22%.
No, I'm just saying.
You're in the 22%.
I'm trying to understand. starting to read into this survey here.
What other questions?
What other questions were
here?
they? Pikmin sneeze cough. Let us know what else you
Yeah,
found.
like is there other situations
other
that we should be
situations.
aware of? Food, mental.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what other situations?
Bathroom situation?
Bathroom?
I don't.
Ever?
No.
Oh
no.
no, you need to take some fiber.
Oh boy, what a great Q&A that was, but it's come to an end.
Yes, let us go to shouting out our wonderful, beautiful, intelligent superstars who
Let's.
are very involved in everything that we do
Yeah.
and are wonderful people.
All right.
I will go first.
Okay.
Aaron Hash,
Ben Eichhorn.
Maru Mayhem,
Eigenverse.
Jordan Collette,
Kiss My Flapjack.
Mike Chin,
Mr. Rogers.
Rain Tag,
Roy Eschke.
Switching It Up _,
Safazon.
The Shark Among Men,
VGM Life.
Link the Hero of Winds,
Angela Bycroft.
her pig Molly, Turbocharged Nerd,
Thomas O'Rourke.
and Simon Barrera.
Yay!
Okay, I think there's more One Up Club members again, and I'm like
maybe
very nervous.
maybe than there have ever been.
I'm very nervous about the pronunciation of some of these names.
Oh dear.
Here we go. Here we go. One Up Club
Yes.
graduation service, and we start with Aaron Burgundy,
Adam and Ansley.
Jean Malari,
Ale Alejandro.
Alexandra Pratt,
Astrodev.
Blazed and Confused,
Bookem Dano.
Brad SF56,
Brookie Kazooie.
Bruce Dash,
Chancellor Fairley.
Christopher Lay,
Cozy Tar.
Captain Cinnamon Buns,
Captain Alex.
C Roper 17,
Daniel Cole.
Daniel Valencia,
Dachshund.
Doodoo Face,
Douglas Chomix.
Dino Punch,
Elite Peach.
S Barts 50,
Ezrato.
Fart Priest 69,
Fairbound.
Fernie and Just Forever.
Fox Deploy and his dog Bernard. We got some pics of Bernard.
We saw Bernard.
Yeah.
So cute. Fred Rossi,
Full Combro.
Game Hunt 64,
Gar.
Garrett Hallfish,
Gordon Sun.
Ian Shea,
Israel Izzy.
Jay Rando,
Jabroni Jones.
JK99,
JBJ.
Jeff Yoakum,
Jeffrey Hernandez.
Jerry 92602,
Jesse Hernandez.
John Responte,
Jonathan Rowe.
Jordan Hemmerly,
Joseph DeHaze.
Joshua Clements,
Juji Fruit.
Julius Westenberg,
Just Camtro.
Kai Commercio,
Kawa 2796.
Kelp Shake,
Kevin Delane.
Chrisu,
Christopia Party With Me.
Kyle Gamerberry Rookie,
Kyle Kretzer.
Kyle LaBeouf,
Kyler Nelson.
Linnell Stickman,
Lego My Froggo.
Lemma,
Leviahu.
Lil Sebastian,
Lit.
Mad Dog 5981,
Marky Man 64.
Matthew Rewald,
Mecha Dragon 101.
Megan,
Michael Cravens.
Michael White,
Mikey.
Monster Jordy,
Motomania.
Mr. Andy Pond,
Murph.
My Tran,
Nasir.
Nathan Burkhart,
Panda Buns.
Paul Gale Network,
Piano Psychopath.
Prime Factor,
Prince Charmless.
Quinn Hardigan,
Reaver.
Ray Chiron,
Ryuji Utsuho Okuu.
Renee Rivers,
Reese Williams.
Ryth One,
RJ Kern.
Rob Osborne,
Renana Rex.
Rocks,
Rianetta.
Sam Nealon,
Sharif Jackson.
Shinru,
Slowbro.
Schmiggles,
Shrews.
Silly Ferret,
Spicy Munchkin.
Starhole Productions,
Steel Citron.
Tefew,
Thomas Alvarez.
Travis Torline,
Troopage.
Tugs Puppy Bear,
Tuskoob.
Tyler Geis,
Video Game Stupid.
Virtual Bot,
Wicked Davy.
Will Ernst,
Will Johnson.
Zoodiverse,
Zelgaroth.
Zeroid.
Right.
Yes, we did it. Oh, there were some landmines here. There were some landmines, people. All right. Please join us on Patreon. We are at patreon.com/Kit and Krista. Help us get to Japan so we can make all sorts of amazing content for you. And join our great community. It's a wonderful time on our Discord every single day. And we love it.
Please do.
Yeah.
If you are listening on audio, you can give us a 5-star rating and leave a review. And if you're watching on video, go ahead and subscribe to this wonderful Kit and Krista YouTube channel.
Yes. And we're on some other social media channels as well. We're on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and of course, YouTube. So follow us there. All right.
All
That
right.
is another wonderful show in the books.
In the books.
We'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.